Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Naruto. Medical Ninja. I have Samsara Eye at the beginning. Chapter 1. Tsunade sat on a chair, casually crossed her legs, holding the application materials in her hand, curiously observing Jingyi's unique eyes. Hinata Jingyi, you quit your ninja team because of blood degeneration, and applied to join the medical department to study. Do you want to become a medical ninja? Yes, I want to become a medical ninja and find a way to treat the blood disease. Jingyi gave his reasons and explanations. Looking at the entire ninja world, medical ninjas have always been scarce, even in Konoha, which attaches great importance to the training of medical ninjas. Tsunade is naturally happy that someone can take the initiative to apply to enter the medical department to study. The only regret is that the other party originally belonged to the Hyuga clan, but he suffered from the blood disease. Tsunade pointed out, "Can you tell me about your eyes?" Tsunade was very curious. Why are Jingyi's eyes different from others with the same blood degeneration? The azure pupils, with a black dot in the center, are like a shining blue star, beautiful and mysterious. In response to Tsunade's question, Jingyi calmly replied, "I was injured while on a mission with the team. During the injury, my eyes began to be afraid of strong light and my vision was blurry. After receiving treatment, the blood stains began to degenerate. Others thought that Jingyi's Byakugan was degenerating, but they didn't know that this so-called degeneration was actually evolution." The story started before Jingyi traveled through time. He and a close friend were playing a certain Naruto mobile game. In the first 3 days of the game opening, there was a recharge promotion. Recharging 648 would get you an epic lottery opportunity, and the probability of drawing rare props and items was very high. Jingyi decisively chose to spend money, and he was lucky when drawing the lottery. He drew the Samsara Eye with one shot. Just when Jingyi was about to show off to his best friend, he suddenly felt dizzy, his eyes began to turn black, and he fell straight on the sofa, unconscious. When he woke up, he found that he had traveled through time and space, to the world of Naruto. After his injuries improved and the first fetal movement of the reincarnation eye ended, Jingyi withdrew from the ninja team on the grounds of blood disease and applied to the medical department for study. "I approve your application. You will start studying from tomorrow. I hope you can put aside the blood disease for the time being and study seriously with a calm mind." "Yes, Tsunade-sama." The application was finally settled, and Jingyi breathed a sigh of relief. The reason why he applied to study in the medical department and further promoted to a medical ninja was very simple, that is, he did not want to risk his life for the family and the so-called Will of Fire. As long as he became a medical ninja and applied to work at Konoha Hospital, the family could not order him to perform family tasks in the name of the family, and he did not need to accept tasks and commissions in the village. In the ninja world, medical ninjas are definitely a profession that makes money easily and has a high income. After leaving Konoha Hospital, Jingyi bought several bottles of non-fading paint, as well as drawing boards, paper and other things before returning home. Unlike other ninja families, the Hyuga clan's clan land buildings are very strangely distributed. With the main family's chief courtyard as the core, the residences of other main family members guard the main family's courtyard, and then the residences of many branch family leaders guard the main family courtyard, spreading outward in circles. The lower the status of the members in the family, the more remote the area they live in. Jingyi is a member who lives in a remote area. After closing the door, Jingyi put down the things and walked into the bathroom with a bottle of green paint. When Jingyi took off the forehead protector, his forehead had been dyed green. Jingyi's caged bird curse seal disappeared after the first stage of the reincarnation eye ended. The mark on his forehead was drawn by him with a paint pen. It's a pity that the paint at home will fade. That's why Jingyi bought non-fading paint. He also bought drawing boards and other things so that people would mistakenly think he was learning to paint. The reincarnation eye needs to experience 3 fetal movements before it can stabilize. During this period, Jingyi cannot use the power of the reincarnation eye. Every time the fetus moves, he needs to hide in a room with closed doors and windows and wait for the fetal movement to end. Fortunately, these problems can be explained by blood-stain disease. The family is convinced that Jingyi is not the first person in the Hyuga clan to have blood-stain degeneration. It's just that the way family members look at him has begun to change. The Byakugan is the pupil technique that the Hyuga clan is proud of. The degeneration of blood stains means losing the Byakugan and losing the original status and value. Jingyi doesn't care how the clan members see him. The Hyuga clan, which is corrupt, dark, and unfair, is not worthy of his support and dedication. After becoming a medical ninja, he will move out of the Hyuga clan. Not caring about other people's opinions does not mean that Jingyi is willing to be white-eyed, willing to accept the unequal treatment of the tribe. Use a paint pen to draw the caged bird curse seal on the forehead. After careful observation, Jingyin snapped her fingers with satisfaction. Perfect. After finishing the curse seal for disguise, Jingyi came to the yard to start training. He ignored the soft fist and the like. From today on, he needs to work hard to improve his chakra control strength, which is a necessary condition to become a medical ninja. When his reincarnation eye is over for 3 fetal movements, he can directly overturn the main family, so why would he care about the soft fist? Climbing trees and treading water are not difficult for Jingyi, but this is just the introduction to fine chakra control. If you want to become a medical ninja, you still need to work hard. The next morning, Jingyi took a lunch box, some notebooks and pens for recording, and then rushed to Konoha Hospital. The medical department and Konoha Hospital are connected, so just go directly to Konoha Hospital and wait for Tsunade's arrangement. Not too long, Tsunade, yawning and with messy hair, came. Take a look at these books, and then tell me what level you have reached in chakra control. I am very sleepy now and have no time to teach you. After saying that, Tsunade fell asleep on the table. Tsunade teaches me personally. Jingyi didn't expect that he could be favored by the boss. No, Tsunade at this time was not a boss yet, and she had not even obtained the title of Sanin. She could only be regarded as a medical ninja with good strength. These are all books prepared by Tsunade, specially prepared for novices, just suitable for beginners like Jingyi. Jingyi walked to the corner, put down the bag he carried with him, opened the book in his hand, and read it carefully. The opening is about the introduction of medical ninjas. Turning a few pages later, there are various training methods for fine chakra control and standard level divisions. Treading water and climbing trees can only be regarded as entry. Looking at the detailed records in the book, Jingyi found that he seemed to have reached the learning standard of medical ninjas. It seems that after the first fetal movement of the Samsara Eye, his control over chakra has greatly improved, and as time goes by, his ability in this area is constantly improving. After all, the Samsara Eye is a powerful eye technique that matches the Samsara Eye, which can bring all kinds of enhancements to Jingyi. Resisting the idea of waking up Tsunade, Jingyi continued to read. Unknowingly, the whole morning passed. Jingyi read books all morning, and Tsunade also slept all morning. Fortunately, there were no seriously ill patients in the hospital in the morning, so Tsunade didn't need to go out in person. Tsunade also had a good sleep, although her sleeping posture was not very elegant. After all, sleeping on the table, the side of the face lying on the bed is easy to be pressed red, and it will also drool unconsciously. Looking at the water stains on the table, Jingyi's mouth twitched slightly twice. Tsunade-ji, you have to be reserved an image. The students learned a lot. With Tsunade's support, Jingyi no longer needed to help out and could stay in the lounge to study every day. With enough time and Tsunade's personal guidance, Jingyi learned the chakra scalpel in 2 days. For a period of time afterwards, Jingyi was like a dry sponge, quickly absorbing all kinds of relevant knowledge and learning all kinds of medical ninjutsu. Tsunade was shocked at first, then gradually got used to it, and finally became numb. She felt like she was about to be squeezed dry, without a drop left. All the medical ninjutsu she had learned had been taken out by Jingyi. 2 months later, Tsunade personally took Jingyi to take the assessment. As expected, Jingyi passed the assessment with excellent results, successfully obtained the medical ninja certificate, and submitted an application form to work in the hospital. In an elegant tavern, Tsunade, Orochimaru, Jiraiya, the 3-member team reunited. Tsunade, I heard that you accepted an apprentice, and the other party is from the Hyuga clan. Jiraiya forgot the pain after the scar healed, and put the fact that he was almost beaten to death behind his mind. As soon as they met, he winked at Tsunade. Oh, there is such a thing. Orochimaru paused with his hand holding up the wine glass. He glared at Jiraiya fiercely, scaring Jiraiya to shiver, and Tsunade withdrew her gaze with satisfaction. I didn't accept him as a disciple. I just saw that boy had talent. I just happened to have time, so I took him along. But I was wrong. Hyuga Shizuka has a high talent for medicine. Let's not talk about that. Shaking her head, Tsunade changed the subject. What are you two doing recently? Since the Jonin assessment, the three of them have completely withdrawn from the team and are busy with their own things. Tsunade is in Konoha Hospital, Orochimaru is doing some weird research, and Jiraiya is either on a mission or stealing, collecting materials. I encountered a troublesome mission recently, which took up some time. Orochimaru replied casually. Hehe, I'm busy, Jiraiya put his hands together and rubbed them together, but was interrupted by Tsunade as soon as he opened his mouth. Okay, you don't need to say anything. You're either peeping at girls bathing or writing your messy stuff. Tsunade put down her wine glass and slapped the table to warn him. If I find out that Naoki brought back some weird books again, I promise to beat you to death. Why don't you teach something else? Why do you have to take children to read pornographic books? Ahem, misunderstanding, this is a misunderstanding. Naoki brought it back secretly. It's none of my business. Jiraiya defended himself with a guilty conscience. Hehe. Looking at the ferocious Tsunade and the timid Jiraiya, Orochimaru's mouth corners slightly raised. This is one of the few times he can relax. Orochimaru cherishes such days very much, although he spends more time sitting aside and watching quietly. Drinking and eating, sharing some interesting things in work or tasks. Soon, the three people who were full of food and wine left separately. Tsunade left. Jiraiya was still sitting in the same place, holding a bottle of wine and giggling. Tsunade seemed to have forgiven him and was no longer angry with him. Quote. Glancing at Jiraiya, who was giggling non-stop with a look of disdain, Orochimaru silently stood up and left. When she got home, Tsunade, who smelled of alcohol, just walked in and ran into Kushina, who was sitting alone in the yard. Lady Tsunade. Someone came. Kushina looked up and quickly stood up to greet. Call me sister, or is the word sister a bit too hot? Tsunade put her hand on Kushina's head in dissatisfaction, ruffling Kushina's red hair. Sister Tsunade. Kushina was stunned for a few seconds with her hair ruffled, and screamed. After all, few girls like to have a mess on their heads. Don't cry, I'm wrong, I'll take you out shopping later, okay? Tsunade didn't expect Kushina's heart to be so fragile. She burst into tears after a little teasing. It took a lot of effort to coax Kushina and promised to take her out shopping. Looking at the smile on the little girl's face, Tsunade shrugged her shoulders weakly. She felt that coaxing a child was more tiring than working in the hospital. Sister Tsunade, someone just sent you a letter. After getting Tsunade's promise, Kushina took out a letter like offering a treasure. Letter? Mine? Who would write a letter to me? Tsunade was puzzled. Took the envelope and opened it. After glancing at the contents on the letter, her face became solemn. After putting away the letter, Tsunade patted Kushina's little head. Kushina, Sister Tsunade needs to go out to do something. Can I take you out shopping another day? Can't I go? Kushina looked at Tsunade pitifully. Tsunade began to have a headache. Why did you tease the child for no reason? Now you feel uncomfortable. After struggling for a while, Tsunade was finally defeated. Right, but you have to be obedient, okay? Kushina is a poor child, and Jingyi's situation is similar. If the two get together, maybe they can have something to talk about, and can Kushina make a new friend? Although the village strictly prohibits anyone from contacting Kushina, Jingyi is someone Tsunade recognizes, which is equivalent to one of her own. With Tsunade here, what's wrong with contacting Kushina? Anyone who is dissatisfied can come to her, Princess Tsunade, to argue. So Tsunade took Kushina away from the Senju ancestral house and walked towards the Hyuga clan. On the way, she remembered something and bought a lot of food at a roadside store. Lady Tsunade took Kushina to the Hyuga clan. The Anbu ninja who was monitoring Kushina reported the news to the third Hokage as soon as possible. In the Hokage's office, the third Hokage standing by the window looked towards the direction of the Hyuga clan. Is it because of Hyuga Shizuka? Shizuka applied to study in the medical department. In just over 2 months, the medical ninjutsu he mastered surpassed many medical ninjas and he successfully passed the medical ninja assessment. On the day the assessment ended, various materials were sent to the desk of the third Hokage. Because of the injury, the blood stains degenerated, and then he suffered the cold treatment of the family and received a lot of unfair treatment, so he applied to study in the medical department but accidentally showed his talent. The scarcity of medical ninjas and Shizuka's own talent attracted the attention of the third Hokage. The most important reason was that Shizuka was recognized by Tsunade, and Tsunade was a disciple of the Hokage. So Shizuka was half of his own. The third Hokage took out Shizuka's information and looked at it carefully, then was silent for a while. What a pity. Shizuka's situation was rather special, which meant that he could only be half of his own. In the living room with the doors and windows closed, Jingyi sat quietly on the chair with a scarf covering her face. The second movement of the reincarnation eye came a little suddenly, so Jingyi had to ask someone to send a letter to Tsunade, asking her to ask for leave for her, and she needed to rest for a while. Jingyi couldn't be sure how long it would take, and he would stay at home to rest until the second movement of the reincarnation eye ended. Knock, knock, knock. Hinata Jingyi. The knock on the door woke up Jingyi, who had emptied his brain, and his thoughts returned. Jingyi stepped forward and opened the door. Although his eyes were covered, his strong mental strength and perception made Jingyi's life not too inconvenient even if he was blindfolded and couldn't see anything. Tsunade is not alone, but also has a child. This chakra, no, chihara, is not something that ordinary people can possess. The child, plus the huge vitality, the chakra that ordinary people can't match, plus this sensitive time point, Jingyi guessed the other party's identity. Uzumaki Kushina. Jingyi came to open the door himself. Tsunade looked at him with his eyes covered and said in surprise. I thought you, Hyuga Jingyi, couldn't even take care of yourself. I didn't expect you to be able to move freely. Jingyi opened the door and said, although you can't see anything, with the help of smell, hearing, and perception, you can maintain a normal life. As for the work of Konoha Hospital, you can only stop temporarily. Tsunade took Kushina into Jingyi's house and looked at the layout of the house. Kushina, who followed behind, looked around like a curious baby. I'll take care of the hospital. Just rest at home. Tsunade waved her hand nonchalantly, pulled Kushina to sit on the sofa, and said with some worry, but your eyes. It's just a little sequelae. It will recover after a while. Jingyi gave Tsunade a reassuring smile and nodded to Kushina. Hello, my name is Kushina, Uzumaki Kushina. Kushina stood up subconsciously and introduced herself to Jingyi. Hinata Jingyi, nice to meet you. At this time, the village leaders will not allow outsiders to contact Kushina, but Kushina was brought by Tsunade, so it's okay. My sister Kushina is a lovely girl. Tsunade raised her eyebrows and deliberately stretched the words, lovely girl, to a long length. Kushina, who was curiously staring at Jingyi, blushed and stamped her feet in dissatisfaction. Sister Tsunade, what nonsense are you talking about? Quote. Although it is not visible, it can be heard from the frivolous tone that Tsunade-sama is starting to be unserious. Ah ha ha. Kushina blushed with shame, and Tsunade thought it was very funny. But Kushina was not good at teasing, and she would cry if she was teased too much, so Tsunade had to stop in time and change the subject. By the way, you can't see anything with your eyes, so I brought you some food, including rice balls, meatballs, and they are all things I don't like. You might as well bring me some dishes and I can cook them myself. At least blindfolding doesn't prevent Jingyi from cooking. He is personally picky about food, and doesn't like rice balls and meatballs. Keep it for yourself. If you really want to help me, buy me some vegetables. Jing waved her hand to reject Tsunade's kindness. I know you mean well, but I can't make do with anything if I have the conditions, so you, Tsunade, take these things back and eat them yourself. Can you still cook for yourself? Tsunade was surprised, thinking back to the delicious bento she had eaten during this period, and swallowed her saliva subconsciously. This is possible. It's barely okay, it shouldn't affect the taste. Do you want to try it? Yes. Quote. So embarrassing. Kushina covered her face helplessly. She felt that Tsunade was a bit too much. This good-looking little brother obviously couldn't see anything, but he still wanted others to cook. Sister Tsunade, didn't you eat outside and drink wine? Half an hour later, when the beef brisket stewed with potatoes was served on the table, Kushina's mouth shed tears of shame, and she drank 3 bowls with tears. It's so delicious. Burp. Compared to Kushina, who still needed to pay attention to her image and maintain her dignity, Tsunade didn't care about that at all. She leaned on the sofa carelessly, burping. She admitted that she accidentally ate too much. Jingyi-kun is amazing. He can make such delicious food even though he can't see anything. Kushina looked at Jingyi with shining eyes. After a rest, Tsunade sat up straight and rubbed her belly. Jingyi, can you tell me about your eyes? If you need help, just ask. For now, everything is under control, but it's inconvenient to go out to buy things. Jingyi shook his head. If necessary, he would definitely not be polite to Tsunade. Now I hug your thighs, and you will hug mine in the future. I will buy some things you need after get off work in the future. Tsunade took over the shopping work generously. No, I need to rest for a while. Kushina, call me when you go home, I'll sleep for a while. Tsunade felt that she had to take a nap because of the alcohol. It happened that the sofa of Jing's family was big enough, soft and comfortable. Occupying the sofa, Tsunade turned around, turned her back to Jingyi and Kushina, and fell asleep. You were really not polite at all. Jingyi laughed directly. Kushina was so embarrassed that she almost dug out a 3-bedroom and 1 living room with her toes. Jingyi, Tsunade drank a lot of wine outside today. She came directly after receiving your letter, so. Kushina could only try her best to help Tsunade explain. What a good girl, gentle and considerate, Jingyi suddenly remembered Kushina's nickname, Blood Red Pepper. This nickname was first given by classmates to tease her, and later it was punched by Kushina. Let everyone know that she is a blood red pepper that is not easy to mess with. I was careless. How do you feel about life in Konoha? When will you go to the ninja school? Jingyi shifted the topic to Kushina. Very bad. Perhaps because she felt comfortable with Jingyi, Kushina let go of her reserve and inner tension, and said with a bitter face, I can only stay with Grandma Mito, I can't go anywhere, there is no familiar person around. As she spoke, Kushina's eyes began to turn red, and her 2 big eyes became tearful, and tears could flow down at any time. Quote. Tsunade, who had her back to Jingyi and Kushina, twitched her mouth a few times. Hanada Jingyi, why don't you talk about something else, and talk to Kushina about this? I want to see how you can coax her. Jingyi listened quietly. When Kushina was about to cry, she shook her head slightly and said, when people come to strange places, they are always at a loss when they lack a sense of security. Although there are my people around me, they are more unfamiliar to me than strangers. Ah, the tears that were about to fall from Kushina's big eyes stopped, and the little girl looked at Jingyi a little blankly. People are more unfamiliar than strangers. Jingyi pointed at his eyes and laughed at himself, because in the eyes of my clansmen, I have a terrible blood disease. I will lose my family's unique eye technique and become a waste. Jingyi-kun is not a waste. You are so powerful. Kushina also forgot her sad things and stood up for Jingyi. Sister Tsunade said that you are very talented. You can learn medical ninjutsu that others find difficult to learn in a few days. You are a genius. Your clansmen have no vision. Maybe. Jingyi shook his head slightly and said seriously. In fact, I don't care about the cold treatment of the family, the cold eyes of the clansmen, and the unequal treatment of the family. Since no one accepts me, I will start a new life and look forward. People can't live in the pain of the past. Look forward, people can't live in the pain of the past. This sentence keeps circulating in Kushina's mind. After leaving Jing's house, Kushina felt her scalp itchy, as if something was about to grow out. Tsunade kept yawning. This feeling of wanting to sleep, but also wanting to prick up her ears to eavesdrop, was terrible. Not only did she not sleep well, she also drank a bellyful of chicken soup. She almost swelled to death. That night, the Senju ancestral home. Kushina sat next to Uzumaki Mito and chirped. Mito grandma, I met a new friend today, and he also invited me and Tsunade to dinner. Since Kushina came to Konoha, she rarely saw a happy smile on her face. Uzumaki Mito raised one hand and hugged Kushina, with a kind smile on his face. Is it the little guy named Hyuga Shizuka? I've heard little Tsunade mention this name a lot recently. Have I been mentioning it all the time? Have I? Tsunade scratched her head in annoyance. She lay down as soon as she came back. As a result, she was caught by Uzumaki Mito not long after she fell asleep. The reason was to accompany Kushina more and let her integrate into this family and the big family of Konoha more quickly. Hyuga Shizuka, is that the genius that my sister mentioned? The one who learns medical ninjutsu quickly? Naoki asked curiously. Yes. Kushina nodded her little head vigorously a few times. The beef and potatoes made by Shizuka-kun are delicious. Sister Tsunade ate 5 bowls. As she said that, she raised her little hand to gesture. Kushina. Tsunade's eyes widened in disbelief. Didn't you eat 3 bowls yourself? I couldn't help it. Kushina burrowed into Uzumaki Mito's arms a little embarrassedly. Naoki looked at her sister who was furious, then at Kushina who looked shy, and blinked. Is it really so delicious? Even Kushina, who usually has no appetite, drank 3 bowls. Looking at his granddaughter and Kushina exposing each other's past, Uzumaki Mito laughed, but as he laughed, the smile on the old man's face gradually disappeared. I remember that child wrote you a letter saying that he had a blood disease attack and couldn't see anything. Tsunade nodded, yawning and saying, yes, his eyes are still covered with cloth. I will ask for leave for him tomorrow so that he can rest at home for a while. Tsunade. Uzumaki Mito's tone suddenly became stern. You let a blind child cook for you. And you ate 5 bowls. Because it tastes good. Tsunade wanted to stretch, but she was stunned as soon as she raised her hand. At this moment, she suddenly reacted and looked up hurriedly. Uzumaki Mito, who had a kind smile on his face, now had a stern face and stared at her with turbid eyes. Tsunade's heart skipped a beat. Kushina, who was sitting next to Uzumaki Mito, also realized that something was wrong and subconsciously moved her butt to sit farther away. Sister, you actually let a person with injured eyes cook for you. Naoki shouted. Shut up, he wanted to do it himself to prove that he can live independently. I didn't ask him to cook. After yelling at Naoki fiercely, Tsunade quickly explained. Grandma, you have to believe me. If you don't believe me, ask Kushina. After dinner, Hyuga Shizuka comforted and counseled Kushina. Kushina liked him very much and almost called him brother. I didn't. Kushina shook her head to deny, and her cute little face turned red. Naoki, Kushina, you go and rest first. Uzumaki Mito took a deep breath and let his grandson and Kushina leave first. Hyuga Shizuka, I was killed by you. Tsunade secretly complained. Kushina was worried. Is Tsunade's sister okay? Grandma Mito looks scary when she's angry. No, what's the problem? At most, she'll get scolded. My sister is used to it anyway. Grandma always teaches her to be a girl, but my sister always turns a deaf ear to her. Naoki didn't care, because this kind of scene has happened many times, and he's used to it. Even Tsunade is used to it. When she's scolded, she'll act like a grandson and pray in her heart that the scolding will be shorter and that grandma will say less nagging words. Afterwards, I still do what I want. I know I was wrong and I admit it, but I won't change. Tsunade was being scolded, and at this time, Jingyi was lying on the bed, his right hand moving slowly. A glass was floating in front of the bed, and as Jingyi's hand turned, the glass moved. Floating around. With the arrival of the second fetal movement of the Samsara Eye, even during the fetal movement, Jingyi began to use some of the power of the Samsara Eye. Even if he couldn't use it at full power, he still felt happy. Like the Samsara Eye also has the ability to control gravity and repulsion. If the Samsara Eye chakra mode is turned on, it can even control the trajectory of the planet. Of course, such a feat is not something that ordinary people can do. It doesn't mean that you can do everything with the Samsara Eye. At this time, the combination of Jingyi and the Samsara Eye is like a rocket propeller installed on a tricycle. If the rocket propeller is fully fired, the tricycle will only face the fate of falling apart. In simple terms, the power of the Samsara Eye is too strong, and Jingyi's body cannot withstand such power. He needs a certain amount of adaptation time, gradually develop and use it, and finally completely control the power of the Samsara Eye in his hands. Fortunately, his eyes belong to him, and he will not be sucked dry or crushed by them. Just look at Nagato, who is used as a tool to nurture the Samsara Eye, and you will know how terrible the Samsara Eye and the Rinnegan are. Even Nagato, who has a Uzumaki bloodline, cannot withstand the suction. At present, the most practical ability for Jingyi is to control gravity and repulsion, except for controlling puppets. Perhaps he can act as a puppeteer and teach the puppet troops of the Sand Village a lesson, so that they know what is the essence of controlling puppets. Plop, plop. In the dark night, the fetal movement of the eyes is particularly obvious. Jingyi lies on the bed and quietly feels the changes in the eyes. The strong fetal movement indicates that the fusion of the Rinnegan is very smooth. Late at night, the lights in the Hokage office building finally go out. The third-generation Hokage, who is in his prime, has finished his work for the day, which also means that those who accompany the third-generation Hokage to work overtime can rest. After packing up, the third Hokage was about to go home to rest. As soon as he walked out of the Hokage's office, someone from the Anbu whispered, "Hokage-sama, Mito-sama wants you to go see her after get off work." The third Hokage paused. "I know. It is easy to guess why Uzumaki Mito wants to see him, it is nothing more than Kushina. In Konoha today, the only person worth Uzumaki Mito's concern is Kushina." With the Hokage guards, the third Hokage came to the Senju ancestral home. Uzumaki Mito had been waiting for a while. "Mito-sama." The third Hokage signaled the Hokage guards to leave first, then walked quickly towards Uzumaki Mito and saluted respectfully. The third generation of Hokage was born in 1917. Don't think that Sarutobi Hiruzen is the Hokage designated by Senju Tobirama. Without the support of Uzumaki Mito, he would definitely not be able to sit firmly in the position of the third Hokage. Uzumaki Mito, who was leaning on the recliner, slowly opened his eyes. "Monkey, you are here." Facing Uzumaki Mito, the third Hokage did not dare to show off at all, and hurried forward to help Uzumaki Mito sit up straight. After Uzumaki Mito sat firmly, he stood up straight. "Monkey, Kushina is the next Nine-Tails Jinchuriki of the village. She is also the princess of the Uzumaki clan and has the same status as me. She should have the right to control her own life, which will be more conducive to her integration into the big family of Konoha and treating Konoha as her own home." The third Hokage said respectfully, "Mito-sama, Kushina came to Konoha, so she is a member of Konoha. I will not restrict or interfere in her life." He knew very well that Uzumaki Mito was reminding him not to interfere in Kushina's life all the time, which was not conducive to Kushina's integration into Konoha. "I'm glad you understand." Alas, Uzumaki Mito felt indescribably uncomfortable. Looking at Kushina now, it was as if she saw herself in the past, but she was much happier than Kushina. At least when she married into the Senju clan, the Uzumaki clan was still there, and Senju Hashirama treated her very well. Even if she became a Jinchuriki, no one dared to disrespect her. Kushina obviously cannot get the treatment and status that Mito Uzumaki can have. Konoha can only give Kushina some financial support at most. After all, they have swallowed up the huge wealth of the Uzumaki clan. It would be embarrassing not to give Kushina some. Kushina needs not only financial freedom, but also sufficient personal freedom. There are some plans I have drawn up above. Konoha has taken away too many things from the Uzumaki clan. Give some compensation to this child Kushina. I hope the Hokage's office will implement it as soon as possible. In addition, don't interfere too much in Kushina's life. That's it. Yes. The third Hokage respectfully put away the scroll, then helped Mito Uzumaki back to the house, and then left. The third Hokage and the elders have reached a consensus on the compensation. Although the elders were a little reluctant, when it involved Mito Uzumaki, the elders had to accept it. The next day, the Konoha F4 group sat in the Hokage's office. The third Hokage took out the scroll given by Uzumaki Mito and handed it to them. After reading it, Udatane Kaharu and Mito Kato En chose to remain silent. Only Shimura Danzo, who was the Hokage's assistant, reacted strongly. "No, I don't agree with this decision. I can agree to compensate Kushina, but Kushina's safety must be fully monitored, and not too many people can come into contact with the Jinchuriki." Danzo Shimura at this time was only the Hokage's assistant in public, and the future famous route had not yet developed. The growth and development of the route was after the Second Ninja World War. At this time, Danzo Shimura was just an assistant to the Hokage who had a position but not much power. "This is the order of Mito-sama." The third Hokage did not argue with Danzo Shimura, but directly brought out Uzumaki Mito. If you have the ability, Danzo, go to this ancestor and tell him that as long as you can convince Uzumaki Mito, I have no objection to locking up Kushina. Shimura Danzo raised his hand angrily, wanting to say something, but the words full of dissatisfaction could only be stuck. This is the order of Lord Mito, why do you have to do it? Mito Kato-en and Utane Kaharu couldn't help shaking their heads. Danzo's desire for control is too strong. If someone else made such a decision, even if it was the third Hokage, Shimura Danzo would dare to fight back in person. But the person who made this decision was Uzumaki Mito, and Shimura Danzo would not dare to disrespect Uzumaki Mito no matter how dissatisfied he was. At most, he would curse a few words in his heart. Seeing that Shimura Danzo's arrogance had died down, the third Hokage spoke. Danzo, Mito-sama is already dissatisfied with the Uzumaki clan. Mito-sama likes Kushina very much. She is helping Kushina and is also warning us not to go too far. HMPH, I hope you won't regret it. Shimura Danzo handled the Uzumaki clan's affairs, and the result is self-evident, which disappointed Mito Uzumaki, very disappointed. Uzumaki Mito did not stand up to accuse him or punish him, which was enough to give them, the Konoha tendon, enough face. Faced with the conditions proposed by Uzumaki Mito, the Konoha tendon had to accept them no matter how dissatisfied they were. Shimura Danzo. He left in a huff. Utane Kaharu shook her head and asked, Hiruzen, I heard that Tsunade brought out a very talented student. Is that true? Well, this child is called Hyuga Shizuichi. You can take a look at his information. Mito-sama agreed that Kushina should contact this child and did not object. When you are undecided, just push it to Uzumaki Mito. Shizuichi's information was quickly sent to the Hokage's office. After reading the information, Utane Kaharu and Mito-mon understood why Uzumaki Mito and the third Hokage did not stop Kushina from contacting Shizuichi. This is completely one of us. No, at most half a person, because of the existence of the caged bird curse seal, Shizuichi can only be regarded as half a person. Putting down the information in his hand, Utane Kaharu sighed, Mito-sama is still amazing. He has grasped the little girl's admiration for the strong and sympathy very accurately. How to make Kushina fully integrate into Konoha? It's very simple. Let her make true friends, let her feel the warmth of family and friendship, and then gradually regard herself as a member of Konoha. Imprisonment and supervision are the lowest level of incompetent decision-making. Child, what's wrong with you? Noticed that Kushina was absent-minded all morning, and at noon, she frequently looked towards the door. Uzumaki Mito sat next to Kushina and gently hugged her shoulders. Grandma Mito, I'm fine. Kushina smiled embarrassedly. Yesterday at Shizuka-kun's house, Tsunade's sister said that she would help Shizuka-kun buy vegetables every day, but Tsunade's sister was educated by Mito's sister last night. She didn't even go to work today and is still sleeping now. Is Kushina worried that Shizuka won't have food to eat? Uzumaki Mito's eyes were full of smiles, teasing Kushina. No. Kushina shook her head quickly. Grandma Mito, I think if Tsunade-san didn't go, Jingyi-kun would be very disappointed. After all, they made an appointment yesterday. It seems that Kushina is very concerned about the new friend she just met. Uzumaki Mito deliberately frowned. You don't think about counting on your sister Tsunade. This child is sulking with me and didn't even get up to eat lunch at noon. What about Jingyi-kun? Tsunade was angry, so she didn't want to go out, so the promise to Jingyi to help buy vegetables would have to fall through. And Jingyi couldn't even see anything with his eyes, so he definitely couldn't go out. Tsunade can't go, but Kushina can. Can you help your sister Tsunade fulfill this agreement? Uzumaki Mito smiled and encouraged Kushina. Since your sister Tsunade doesn't want to go out, then the agreed matter can only be left to you. I can't. Kushina shook her head subconsciously. She was not familiar with Konoha yet, and couldn't even tell where she was going, let alone go to the market to buy vegetables and then send them to Jingyi. Alas, it seems that Tsunade is going to break the promise with others. Uzumaki Mito sighed, her tone full of regret. Hearing this, Kushina's cute little face was completely tangled. She didn't want Tsunade to break the promise, nor did she want Jingyi to be disappointed, but she really didn't know the way, and she had never been to the market to buy things, whether before or now. As the little princess of the Uzumaki clan, she didn't need to go shopping at all. After coming to Konoha, she rarely stepped out of the gate of the Senju ancestral house. What to do? Kushina was very tangled. After thinking seriously for a few minutes, Kushina encouraged herself in her heart, "Kushina, believe in yourself, you can do it." After cheering herself up, Kushina looked up, looked at Uzumaki Mito's face, and said seriously, "Grandma Mito, how about I go buy something for Tsunade-san and send it to Jingyi-kun, but you have to send someone to lead the way for me, because I have never been to the market and don't know the prices." The little girl finally took the bait. Uzumaki Mito smiled and nodded, saying, "I will let Mu-yang accompany you, and when you come back, he will also bring you back." Raised his hand and rubbed Kushina's red hair. "Child, you must remember the way to go in your heart, so that you can find your friends in the future, right? Write down the route and then find your friends." Kushina was stunned for a few seconds, and said in surprise, "Grandma Mito, can I really move freely? Including meeting friends?" "Of course, Grandma Mito promises you that you can. Konoha is your home, you can go wherever you want." "Wow, Grandma Mito." Uzumaki Mito's face was full of kind smiles, hugging Kushina tightly, Kushina lying in Uzumaki Mito's arms and crying with emotion. Kushina prepared and went out. After she left, Tsunade with a complicated expression walked into the house. The two of them were very close. "Grandma, are we deceiving Kushina by doing this? What's the bad mood after being taught a lesson? What's the failure to fulfill the agreement? It's all bullshit, it's all a trap." A trap to let Kushina take the initiative to take the task and go to complete the agreement. Tsunade felt that this was a bit immoral. After all, Kushina was still a child. Then do you have a better way to let Kushina let go of the grief in her heart, let go of her vigilance against the village, and integrate into the village? Uzumaki Mito glared at her granddaughter unhappily. "If you can do it, do you need an old woman like me to meddle?" "Ah, what you said makes sense." Tsunade shrank her neck and shut up decisively. She didn't dare to talk back to Uzumaki Mito. "But aren't you afraid of what might happen? What if Kushina was deceived? Do you think Hyuga Shizuka is unreliable?" Uzumaki Mito leaned back in the chair and closed his eyes. "Just pretend I didn't say anything." Tsunade couldn't help but roll her eyes, but she was afraid that her grandmother would catch her and scold her, saying that she didn't look like a girl at all. Tsunade was most afraid of being nagged and educated by her grandmother. As for whether Shizuka was reliable, "You're kidding, that's someone I brought up. Who am I?" Tsunade-ji, the eldest granddaughter of the first Hokage, the princess of Konoha. How could my Tsunade-ji be wrong? Absolutely impossible. Knock, knock. "The door is not locked, please come in." Shizuka, who was resting on the sofa, heard a knock on the door. The door was slowly pushed open, and Kushina walked in with a bag in her hand. Her forehead was covered with sweat, and she looked very tired. "Jingyi-kun, Tsunade's sister has something to do today, so I helped her buy things for you. I didn't know what you like to eat, so I bought a little more." Putting the bag on the ground, Kushina happily showed off her achievements. Quote. Jingyi stood up from the sofa and was silent for a while. Although he couldn't see it with his eyes, he could tell how much Kushina bought with his senses. It was a big bag, bulging, and even a violent little loli like Kushina had difficulty carrying it, which showed how heavy the bag was. Jingyi felt that he should not let down Kushina's kindness, so he smiled and asked, "You've worked so hard, Kushina, can you tell me what you bought?" "Hee, you're welcome, I don't feel tired, on the contrary, I feel great and interesting." Kushina wiped the sweat from her head, and it can be seen that she was in a good mood. Although this was her first time to go to the market to buy vegetables, she made a lot of jokes in the middle, but fortunately the task was completed. Potatoes, and beef, the uncle selling beef said that if you buy more, it will be cheaper. Kushina felt that she was very smart and bought a lot of beef at a low price. Quote. No matter what you buy, as long as the quantity is large, it will be cheaper. After all, buying vegetables is not buying luxury goods, and others want you to pack it all away. Opening his mouth, Jingyi felt that it was better not to say this. After all, Kushina was kind. "Then how about we eat barbecue?" "Okay." Kushina clapped her hands happily, but she was worried about Jingyi's eyes. Why don't you do it? Grandma Mito said it's not right. You can't see anything with your eyes and it's inconvenient to move. Then let's do it together. I'll be in charge and you'll be in charge. How about that? At Jingyi's invitation, Kushina hesitated for a moment, but still agreed obediently. She didn't want to disappoint Jingyi, and she was itching in her heart. The food she made with her own hands must be delicious. First, cut the beef into large pieces. Yes, this size is suitable. Then pour the cut ingredients into the pot, and the seasoning, and marinate the beef. After marinating the beef, Kushina carried a small hoe and ran to the yard to dig mud. She kept thinking, but she couldn't figure out why mud was needed for roasting beef. The CPU in her little head was almost burnt out. Wrap the marinated beef with lotus leaves, cover it with thick mud, and then throw it into the fire. Looking at Jingyi's confident and very good-looking face, Kushina fell into self-doubt. Can the meat made in this way still be eaten? When the beggar beef was freshly baked, Kushina was dumbfounded. So cooking can be fun like this. Mud and lotus leaves. Although the production process is a bit strange, the taste is really good. The large piece of marinated beef is surprisingly soft and rotten. And it was very delicious. Kushina ate very happily. In addition to the fact that the beef was delicious, there was also the factor of making it by herself. Even if her clothes were dirty, Kushina didn't care at all. The smile on her previously sullen face never stopped. So the clan rules of the Hyuga clan are so strict. So scary. Kushina was deeply shocked when Jingyi talked about the Hyuga clan. She felt that compared with the Hyuga clan, the rules of the Uzumaki clan were almost non-existent. Not to mention the Hyuga clan, above the main family, the branch family can only protect the main family. To put it nicely, everyone is a family. To put it bluntly, the branch family is the servant and slave of the main family. Fortunately, with the suppression of the village, even if the Hyuga main family has the right to punish the branch family, it dare not go too far. From this point of view, the third-generation Hokage did something human. Because of his control and suppression, the arrogance of the Hyuga main family was suppressed a lot, and the power in their hands was also divided a lot. Jingyi had a faint smile on his face. Is it terrible? It's okay. Now there is the coordination of the village. The main family can't punish the people of the branch family for no reason, and it is even more impossible to kill people casually like before. Although the F4 group did this for a purpose, such suppression did make the life of the branch family much better. Kushina said indignantly. These people in the main family are so hateful, they are just a group of evil people. The more she knew, the more Kushina felt that she and Jingyi were the same kind of people. Although Jingyi still had a family and his own people, his situation was more difficult than hers. In addition to the existence of the caged bird curse seal, it was impossible for the people of the branch family to resist. Jingyi-kun. Kushina was very worried that Jingyi would be targeted by the family. Jingyi smiled carefreely, raised his hand and patted Kushina's little head, comforting her. Don't worry about me, I have passed the medical ninja assessment and started working at Konoha Hospital. With Tsunade here, the people from the main family dare not trouble me casually. Then I feel relieved. Kushina was afraid that the Hyuga clan would trouble Jingyi at any time, or order him in the name of the family. Ninjas and ninja families all attach great importance to family honor. Unfortunately, he is not one of them, because he is a time traveler. Family honor is shit to him, not to mention the Hyuga clan, a corrupt, dark and inhumane family. After listening to Jingyi's story, Kushina also shared her story with him. It was almost time, and Kushina knew she had to leave. Although she had gained a certain degree of freedom, she could not be willful, because she had no capital to be willful at this time. Then Jingyi, I have to go back first. I will come to visit you another day. Even though she was reluctant, Kushina still left obediently and returned to the Senju ancestral home. Uzumaki Mito gave her a certain amount of freedom, and she had to abide by the agreement, go home on time, and not stay out too long. This child, although Jingyi was only 13 years old, in his eyes, Kushina was indeed a child. Not to mention the previous life, the age difference in this life alone was a full 7 years. Kushina bought too many things at once. Vegetables can still be kept for a few days, but what about meat? If it is not processed, it will go bad soon. At this time, refrigerators and other household appliances have not yet been popularized in the ninja world. In order to prevent the meat from going bad, Jingyi could only marinate the meat and make it into smoked beef jerky. Fortunately, I bought beef. If I bought a lot of pork, it would be really difficult to handle. Jingyi was busy. Kushina happily returned to the Senju ancestral home. Mito-san, Tsunade-san, Nawaki-san, this is the beef I brought for you. It's delicious and I made it myself. Kushina placed the beef she brought back on the table like she was presenting a treasure. The beef was so delicious that it was cooked. Did you make it? Tsunade looked at Kushina as if she was looking at an alien. She remembered that Kushina, like her, knew nothing about cooking, and even whether she had entered the kitchen was a question. Really? Let me try it. Rope Tree couldn't wait to grab a piece of beef and put it in his mouth. After chewing it for a few times, his eyes suddenly lit up. Sister, this beef is delicious. Kushina didn't lie. Grandma, try it. It's very soft and rotten. Kushina was a little proud of getting the approval of Rope Tree. She tilted her head to look at Tsunade. See, the beef I made was recognized. Tsunade also tried it and it was delicious, she admitted, but Kushina said she made it herself. It's questionable. Well, I made it under the command of Shizuka-kun. Shizuka-kun commanded, and I was responsible for the work. Kushina is a good child, and a good child must not lie, so she told everything that happened today. Nawaki's eyes glowed green, and Tsunade shook her head speechlessly. Shizuka, this brat, is really good at cooking. Uzumaki Mito smiled and praised a few words, and Kushina's big eyes narrowed into slits. Kushina. After dinner, Tsunade took Kushina's little hand and said embarrassedly, I'm busy with work recently, and Shizuka may not be able to go there, so I can only trouble you to help buy groceries. I don't know if you are willing to help me. Ah, so that's it. Kushina frowned, and people could tell at a glance that she was not very happy. Little brat, you really want to agree, but you pretend. Tsunade was speechless, but she could only cooperate because this was the task given by Uzumaki Mito. Well, I agree. With Tsunade's unremitting efforts, Kushina finally agreed to help reluctantly. The little girl seemed unhappy, but in fact she was very happy, and she never thought that this was a deliberate act by Tsunade and Uzumaki Mito. So the little girl ran happily to the market the next day, and then went straight to Jingyi's house. When Kushina walked into the house with a bag of vegetables and meat, Jingyi couldn't help but fall into silence. Are you going to buy vegetables or to purchase goods? You can't do this even if you have a lot of money. Kushina, you don't need to buy so many vegetables. It's not easy to make money. We must know how to save. Hard work and thrift are traditional virtues. A lot. Kushina showed an innocent and silly look. I don't think I spent much money. Jingyi, I forgot that this girl is a little rich. It's okay, as long as you are happy. Jingyi tried hard to force a smile. Jingyi, what are we eating today? Braised lamb. Jingyi, Mito's grandmother said that she will send me to the ninja school in a few days to be a transfer student. I am a little scared. Jingyi, what if a classmate bullies me? Oh, then just beat their heads off. Let them know how powerful the hot pepper Kushina is. Hate it, I'm not a hot pepper. Then it's up to you whether I'm right or not. Yes, whoever wants to bully me, just beat his head off. If I can't beat them, I'll ask Jingyi to help me beat them. Quote. After getting familiar with each other, Kushina is like a little chatterbox, talking endlessly with her little mouth, as if she never gets tired. Hiruzen, you might not care about this. Shimura Danzo came to the Hokage's office with an intelligence scroll and slammed the scroll on the table. Kushina is the next Nine-Tails Jinchuriki of Konoha. Jinchuriki should not have any love between men and women, because giving birth is the weakest time for Jinchuriki. Facing the aggressive Shimura Danzo, the third Hokage calmly opened the scroll and took a look, then put it away. He said to Shimura Danzo calmly, Danzo, this is the order of Lord Mito. Shimura Danzo almost suffocated himself to death. This excuse again. It's Lord Mito's order again, can't you Sarutobi Hiruzen change the excuse? Seeing that his old partner was so angry, the third Hokage laughed in his heart. Jinchuriki also needs to contact the people in the village to better integrate into the village, regard the village as his home, and forget the past Uzumaki clan. Kushina and Hinata Shizuka get along very well. With Lord Mito and Tsunade, do you think Kushina will be able to get along well with others? Will Shina be deceived? Quote, but Danzo dared not say that he did not believe in the vision of Uzumaki Mito and Tsunade. Tsunade was fine, at most she would show him a bad face and get angry, and she would not take it seriously. But Uzumaki Mito was not okay. If Danzo dared to slander this person, he would not have to work as the assistant of Hokage. Danzo, no buts, I believe you know the changes of Kushina these days, and Kushina and Hyuga Shizuka are just friends. You are very good. Shimura Danzo clenched his fists angrily. He finally understood that the third Hokage had been using Uzumaki Mito to block him and not allowing him to interfere in Kushina's affairs. I hope you don't regret your decision today. Quote, persuasion failed, and he was still very angry. Shimura Danzo came and left in a rage. He felt that he needed to talk to Jingyi. The second fetal movement finally ended. What Jingyi couldn't understand was why the interval between the three fetal movements of his eyes was so long. The interval was long, but the fetal movement time was obviously longer than that of the Otsutsuki on the moon who was greedy for Hinata's body. The three fetal movements of Tonari's reincarnation eye ended very quickly, but his was so slow. Is it because he doesn't have Otsutsuki's chakra? Or is it because Tonari's eyes don't belong to him and will degenerate into Byakugan under certain conditions? There is too little information about the reincarnation eye, and Jingyi is not sure whether his guess is correct. As for the Samsara Eye, he is more familiar with it, but there is too little information and introduction about the reincarnation eye. Forget it, it's better if it's longer. It's better than the Uchiha's Sharingan next door. Quote, comparatively, the three fetal movements lasting a little longer is nothing. Look at the Sharingan. It is difficult to open the eyes, and it is even more difficult to evolve the eyes. The level from 3 Magatama to Mangekyo has blocked countless Uchiha people. It is even more difficult to go from Mangekyo to Eternal Mangekyo. Want to get the Samsara Eye? Sorry, this thing can only be obtained by you if you are extremely lucky and have all the conditions, or if the 6 paths personally give it to you. First, you have to be the reincarnation of Indra Chakra, and secondly, you have to have a relative who is willing to give you his eyes, and you also need a gay friend who is the reincarnation of Asura Chakra, plus a long wait of at least 20 years, before the Samsara Eye can be born. This is no longer a condition, it is really harder than ascending to heaven. It took a conspirator like Black Zetsu thousands of years to successfully launch an Uchiha Madara. You can imagine how difficult it is to obtain the Samsara Eye. I will start working officially tomorrow, find a suitable house as soon as possible, and then move out. Quote, the famous handmade ramen has not yet appeared. At this time, Shuta is still a little kid who can only follow his father's ass. To be honest, Shuta's father's craftsmanship is just so-so. It's edible, but not very delicious. After eating ramen, walking around and buying a few clothes, Jingyi went home. When he walked to a small park some distance away from the Hyuga clan, he stopped. 2 ninjas wearing Anbu costumes stopped him. Hinata Jingyi, Danzo wants to see you. Danzo, why did this old guy look for me? Is it because of his talent that he wants to win me over, or is it because of Kushina that he is warning me? After thinking for a while, Jingyi turned around and walked towards the small park. The park was very quiet, with only Danzo alone. Hinata Jingyi, do you know what you are doing? Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Shimura Danzo spoke first. Jingyi blinked blankly, tilted his head and thought for a while, and waited for the atmosphere created by Danzo to dissipate a little before he spoke. I don't know what Danzo said. I think as a member of Konoha, I have the right to go shopping, eat ramen, and buy clothes. Is this what I'm talking about? Are you playing dumb? Hinata Jingyi, stay away from Kushina. The Nine-Tails Jinchuriki is not someone you can get in touch with. Since Jingyi was playing dumb, Danzo simply made things clear. Oh, okay. Jingyi answered seriously. Because he really didn't look for Kushina, it was Kushina who approached him, and Tsunade brought him here personally. Tisk tisk tisk, if you have the ability, go find Tsunade, or Uzumaki Mito. If there is nothing else, then I'll take my leave first. After saying that, Jing turned around and left. Danzo, who stayed where he was confused. This kid seemed to agree, but it didn't seem right. and the reaction was too calm. Could it be? Shimura Danzo, who began to imagine, looked uglier and uglier. Why, she's just an old. Realizing that his words were a bit disrespectful, Danzo stopped in a hurry. Danzo at this time was far less arrogant than later. At this time, he was just an assistant to the Hokage who had no power in his hands and was full of ambition. He didn't even develop his roots, nor did he get the power delegated by the third Hokage. At this time, Jingyi didn't need to worry about what Danzo would do to him. And he had a backer. Whether it was the Hyuga clan or Tsunade, they would not allow Danzo to do anything to Jingyi. Shimura Danzo could only shout verbally, so what was there to be afraid of? His last name was not Uchiha. You warned me not to approach Kushina, and I promised you. Anyway, it was Kushina who approached me, so I just asked if you were angry. Angry. Ha ha ha. After walking out of the park, Jingyi burst out laughing. Shimura Danzo, who was still in the park, heard this sound and felt it was very harsh. Hyuga Jingyi, you wait for me. Don't think that you can be arrogant all the time with the Hyuga clan and Uzumaki Mito as your backers, because the backers will fall. Jingyi doesn't care whether the backers will fall or not. Shimura Danzo can't be strong in a short time. As long as I stand strong before you, Danzo is nothing. The next morning, Jingyi came to Konoha Hospital early. Tsunade was on duty yesterday and did not go home, so she simply took Jingyi to get acquainted with him and recognize people. After all, Jingyi had been working as an assistant in the hospital for a long time and was already an acquaintance. Appointment is just a procedure. It's worth it that I'm so good to you. You still have a conscience and know to bring me food. Tsunade was hungry and sleepy after not sleeping all night. I won't talk nonsense about what to do, how to receive patients, and how to treat them. The scroll of super strength you want to learn is in the closet. Take it yourself later. Return it to me directly after learning it. Don't leave it in the hospital. After instructing Jingyi, Tsunade prepared to retreat. As for the super strength technique, it was the reward she promised to give to Jingyi before. As long as Jingyi successfully passed the medical ninja assessment, she would give him the scroll and let him learn it. Wait, Jingyi stopped Tsunade, who wanted to run away. What? Tsunade wiped the oil off her mouth and said with an unhappy look, you kid don't want me to sleep in the lounge, do you? No, go back to sleep. Jing. He waved his hand and said, I want to say that our Hokage assistant came to me last night and warned me to stay away from Kushina, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, so I am in a dilemma. Old man. Tsunade couldn't help but scold. Don't pay attention to him, I will find grandma myself, and I will get along with Kushina the same way as before. Danzo, you have a long hand. Looking at Tsunade, who left angrily, Jingyi laughed secretly. If you don't rely on a backer, what's the point of having a backer? Should I warn you? I will directly report you. After returning home, Tsunade immediately told this matter to Uzumaki Mito. Grandma, this Danzo is too much. He wants to intervene in everything. He still wants to imprison Kushina. It's too much. You go to rest. I will deal with this matter personally. Uzumaki Mito's face was calm, and it was hard to tell whether he was angry or indifferent. Okay, I'm going to sleep now. I'm exhausted. It's really painful to stay up all night. Uzumaki Mito is going to deal with it, and Tsunade will no longer care about these trivial matters. The main reason is that she doesn't have a good way to deal with Danzo. At most, she will lose her temper and scold Danzo. This is not a big deal for Shimura Danzo. But it will be different if Uzumaki Mito personally takes action. The old man was very angry, but he was very angry. I guarantee that Danzo Shimura will be skinned alive. Ha ha ha. Thinking that Danzo Shimura would be scolded by his grandmother and not even dare to fart, Tsunade couldn't help laughing and rolling on the bed. Unfortunately, Mito Uzumaki didn't want to personally scold Danzo Shimura. With Mito Uzumaki's identity and status, Danzo Shimura would not dare to have any temper if he came forward to teach him a lesson. But doing so would be very cheap for Mito Uzumaki. The important thing is that she didn't want to see Danzo with ambitions in his head. Instead of doing it herself, it would be better to bring the matter to the Hokage office building and let the third Hokage and the elders take action. So, the third Hokage, who was busy in the Hokage's office, was summoned. The third Hokage put down his work and rushed to the Senju ancestral house. Not long after, the third Hokage, who left the Senju ancestral house, returned to the Hokage's office with a dark face. "Monkey, is there anything important that you are in a hurry to find me for?" After the end of the First Ninja World War, the third Hokage sat firmly on the throne of Hokage. In order to seek better development for the three families of Ino, Shika and Cho, the fat man Akamichi Tofu chose to fade himself from the top. He curled up in the family all day to study food and the soldiers, grain pills that Ino, Shika and Cho mastered and produced. "Let's talk about it when the others arrive." The three Hokage nodded slightly, indicating Akamichi Tofu to sit for a while. Akamichi Tofu patted his big belly, glanced at the small chair in front of him, and simply pulled a cushion and sat directly on the floor. It was really a bit embarrassing for him to sit on the chair with his huge body. Soon, Yutain Kaharu and Midoman En also came to the Hokage's office. The two who walked into the office noticed Akamichi Norifuge sitting on the floor doing nothing, and couldn't help laughing. "Fatty, you're fat again." "No way." Akamichi Norifuge laughed, and didn't forget to let Midoman En pat his big belly to try the feel. Seeing that the two were still making trouble like before, Yutain Kaharu scolded them unhappily. "You are of what status, and you are still making trouble like this? How can you be so shameless?" "Well, I can't afford to offend you." Akamichi Norifuge immediately turned his face away and pretended that nothing had happened. Midoman En also pulled a chair and sat down, as if it wasn't him who had just patted Akamichi Norifuge's belly. Seeing that the two had calmed down, Yutain Kaharu walked to the chair beside the third Hokage and sat down. "Hiruzen, is there something important that you are anxious to ask everyone to come over?" Danzo hasn't arrived yet, so the third Hokage chose to ventilate the three people first. "Mr. Mito just came to me because Danzo came out to warn Hyuga Shizuichi and not to allow him to get close to Kushina." "Is he crazy?" Yutain Kaharu is a straightforward person and blurted out, "Hasn't the matter of Kushina been settled? Hyuga Shizuichi is a disciple brought up by Tsunade and has also been recognized by Mito-sama." Danzo turned his back to warn others. "Is he going to tear up the agreement?" "Good guy." Akamichi Tofu and Mito Kudan looked at each other. Others are shooting themselves in the foot, but Shimura Danzo is the one who shoots his own people. Or the one who made an agreement and then shot himself. What about face? Shizuichi was brought up by Tsunade and was also recognized by Uzumaki Mito. It's the same as being one of his own. If it weren't for the fact that he was from the Hyuga clan, he would be a pure Hokage faction, and their high-level group had already reached an agreement with Uzumaki Mito. As a result, Shimura Danzo turned his back and went to make trouble. Mito-sama is very unhappy about this. The third Hokage wanted to strangle Shimura Danzo to death. "Where's your brain? What do we want to discuss today have to do with me?" Shimura Danzo, who came late, heard someone mention his name from a distance. When he walked into the Hokage's office, the third Hokage had a dark face, Yutain Kaharu looked unhappy, and Mito Kato En and Akamichi Tsuyoshi gave him a helpless look, reminding him to be careful. Did Hinata Shizuka go to complain? Shimura Danzo thought of this possibility. "Danzo, what on earth do you want to do?" Shimura Danzo came, and the third Hokage got angry on the spot. "We have already made a decision internally about Kushina's matter. You were also present at the time. We have reached an agreement with Mito-sama. Why did you do this?" "For the stability of the village and the control of the Jinchuriki." Shimura Danzo fought back. Jinchuriki should not have feelings for men and women. Hyuga Shizuka, is he a member of the Hyuga clan or a member of the Hyuga branch family? This is an uncontrollable factor. Quote, "You know how dangerous it is for a Jinchuriki to give birth." As he said this, Shimura Danzo looked at Yutain Kaharu and others, hoping that they would stand by him and support him. Yutain Kaharu's face was livid, and he would not give Shimura Danzo any support at all. Mito Kato En could only shake his head. Ahem. Seeing that the ball was falling to his side, Akamichi Tofu coughed dryly and reminded Shimura Danzo, "Danzo, Kushina is only 6 years old. Others are just a 6-year-old girl, but you have even considered the matter of growing up and having children in the future. Isn't it a bit ahead of time?" "What do you mean?" Shimura Danzo frowned. "You are pretending not to understand, right?" Akamichi Tofu was speechless. Danzo's old habit came back again. He holds on to what is right and makes excuses when it is wrong. Akamichi Tofu said helplessly. Danzo, we know what you are worried about, but don't you think your worry is a bit redundant? Kushina is only 6 years old. According to the investigation of the Anbu, Hyuga Shizuka prefers Tsunade to Kushina in daily interactions. As he said that, Akamichi Tofu began to laugh and touched Mito Kadoyan with his hand. Kadoyan, when you were 13 years old, would you like a 6-year-old kid? Mito Kadoyan looked at him with a strange look, and Shimura Danzo, whose face began to turn red, said in cooperation, of course not, isn't it good to have a beautiful big sister? Hiruzen also likes this. Enough. Quote, as the third Hokage began to lose his temper, Koharu Udatane could not listen any longer. I am still sitting here, and you guys are talking about this and that, and the topic is getting more and more irrelevant. Fortunately, although the topic is irrelevant, at least it is the truth. That's enough. Koharu Udatane was furious, and the third Hokage quickly withdrew the topic to prevent it from drifting further and further. The Konoha high-level group held an important meeting, but the content of the meeting was that everyone liked the big sister. If this were to be spread out, it would probably make countless people laugh. Danzo, the third Hokage, issued a stern warning. From now on, all matters concerning Kushina will be handled by me personally, and neither you nor the elders are allowed to interfere. Sarutobi, you. Danzo was anxious when he heard it. This was not the result he wanted. He wanted to go further, but instead of making progress, he regressed. I will not regret it, and I am the Hokage. The third Hokage, who knew Shimura Danzo well, chose to interrupt. Interrupting Shimura Danzo was speechless. Chapter 11. The two of them were so angry that they left. Danzo Shimura really had nothing to say and was directly angry and left. In the lounge of Konoha Hospital, Jingyi was drinking juice leisurely and reading a book with relish. As a weak medical ninja with blood stains degenerating, Jingyi felt that he should make some puppets to enhance his own strength and protect his own safety. Bang! The door of the lounge was pushed open by someone, and it hit the wall heavily with a loud noise. Jingyi, who was sitting in the lounge reading a book, shivered and almost threw the book in his hand as a shuriken. Looking back, it was Tsunade. And it was Tsunade who was in an angry mood. What's wrong with this? Jingyi thought it would be better to stay away, so he took the book and prepared to run away. Where are you going? Jingyi's plan to run away failed, and he was blocked by Tsunade. I treated 2 patients today, and I'm going to the ward to see how they are recovering. Jingyi made an excuse for himself. Tsunade was obviously angry at this time, so it's better not to be alone with her. The city gate has been set on fire, and staying in the lounge may cause harm to innocent people. Tsunade looked at Jingyi with a strange look in her eyes, and when Jingyi was not prepared at all, a face suddenly came up. Tsunade, please calm down, I'm still a child, please don't be impulsive. Jingyi started the backward tactic, raised his hand to stop Tsunade from getting closer to him. These two faces were almost sticking together. Shut up. Tsunade was stunned for a moment, and a few black lines appeared on her forehead. She raised her fist and waved it, angrily saying, I just want to see your eyes, don't be as dirty as Jiraiya. Look at my eyes. That's fine, you can see it. Jingyi breathed a sigh of relief, and her throbbing heart finally fell back. Quote. Seeing Jingyi's relieved expression, she pressed her hands on her chest a few times, and Tsunade suddenly wanted to hit someone. You little brat thinks I want to take advantage of you. Seeing that Tsunade was really about to explode, Jingyi quickly spread her hands and explained, it's just a joke, don't hit anyone. This joke is not funny. Tsunade stared at him with gritted teeth, and Jingyi said I was innocent. It was deeper, with a unique attraction, full of mystery that made people want to understand it in depth. Staring at Jingyi's eyes for a while, Tsunade felt something was wrong, very wrong. Is this blood degeneration or blood evolution? If the Hyuga clan's Byakugan had never evolved, Tsunade would have suspected whether Jingyi's eyes had evolved with the Sharingan. Throwing the documents in her hand casually on the table, Tsunade leaned against the table, pondered for a moment, and asked, are the sequelae of Byakugan degeneration still serious? Jingyi answered half-truthfully. Occasionally there will be stinging, but not as strong as when it was first injured, and the vision of the eyes is not affected. Really? Tsunade carefully observed Jingyi's expression and eyes. She really wanted to know if Jingyi had concealed anything. Is there something on my face? Jingyi knew what Tsunade was thinking, but he would not reveal the flaws, because the script had been set since he crossed over, and Jingyi had deduced countless possible plots. Whenever he encountered the corresponding situation, he could respond flexibly. No, maybe she thought too much. Tsunade shook her head, and the whole person suddenly became like an eggplant hit by frost, a little wilted. These guys, if they don't understand, they should just give orders blindly. The old man too, actually listened to their advice, so annoying. What are the top management doing? There is no need to guess the old man mentioned by Tsunade, it must be the third Hokage, and those guys are, if nothing goes wrong, the other members of the F4 group. Is it about the reform of the medical department and Konoha Hospital? Jingyi had heard about this from Tsunade before, but the third Hokage had not considered it yet, and he didn't expect the reform to come so soon. You can see it for yourself. Tsunade lay directly on the table and pushed the file that had just been thrown on the table to Jingyi. Jingyi picked up the file, opened it, and looked at it carefully. Hiss, good guy. After glancing at the contents of the file, Jingyi couldn't help but exclaimed. The threshold for medical ninjas is high, and there is no perfect training system in each village, so the training progress of medical ninjas has always been slow, and the number of medical ninjas in each village is also small. So the F4 group proposed a reform, and the reform proposal was initiated by the old woman, Kaharu Udatane. The content of the reform is that the training of medical ninjas will change from the teacher-apprentice, hand-in-hand teaching mode to mass education, which is the so-called assembly line mode education. Gather a group of talented ninjas, and let experienced medical ninjas be teachers to educate these apprentices. Isn't this a bit of a joke? Jingyi closed the file. Isn't this a bit too big a span? I said, the old man doesn't want to listen to me. He said that the medical department needs reforms before there will be progress. Tsunade began to slam the table in anger. Perhaps it was the reform of the ninja school that gave the F4 group enough confidence, and Kaharu Udatane directly targeted the medical department. Can't you manage your logistics department well? Why do you reach out to the medical department for no reason? You will have a hard time in the future. Jingyi looked at Tsunade's eyes and couldn't help but sympathize. The person who was most affected by the reform of the medical department was Tsunade. Fortunately, it had nothing to do with me. Too few medical ninjas. Tsunade can only suffer. As long as she is not exhausted, she will work hard. Jingyi decisively put down the file, picked up his book, and continued to read. This kid. Jingyi's reaction directly made Tsunade laugh. Tsunade slapped the table in dissatisfaction and asked, Stinky boy, the medical department is undergoing reform, shouldn't you contribute? Also, why do you want to read books about puppet masters and puppet making? Don't tell me that you want to become a puppet ninja because your blood is degenerated. As a weak medical ninja with degenerated blood, isn't it reasonable to make some puppets to protect yourself? What medical department? What reform? I don't know anything. I'm just a junior apprentice who has just graduated. I dare not get involved in such a big thing. Is it reasonable? Reasonable ass. Tsunade wanted to swear. It's almost time, get ready to leave. Jingyi, who hadn't reacted yet, was forced to leave by Tsunade. Hurry up, hurry up. It hurts, Uchiha fools, you actually killed the villagers. I'm going to the Hokage office building to complain about you. Jingyi, who was forced to leave, hadn't even walked out of the hospital when he ran into the police department carrying several patients into the hospital lobby. What's going on? Tsunade, who was about to accompany Jingyi to leave work, walked up to the patient and checked the patient's injuries. She frowned and said, multiple fractures and large area muscle injuries. Did you, the police department, go too hard? If the target of the attack was an enemy, Tsunade wouldn't care, but the other party was a villager of Konoha. Tsunade-sama, this is our fault. The captain of the police department who led the team to the hospital apologized sincerely. Jingyi, who was standing aside, found that this team leader was none other than the young clan leader of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Fugaku. Tsunade-sama, you have to make the decision for us. The Uchiha fools beat us up. Quote. Facing the patient's accusation, Uchiha Fugaku, who was still the young clan leader, was obviously a little bit overwhelmed. From his clenched fists, it can be seen that the young clan leader was very upset in the face of the accusation. The work of the police department was indeed a bit aggrieved. This was clearly a false accusation. The Uchiha people's style of doing things was a bit arrogant, but the Uchiha people would not target the civilians of the village for no reason. On the contrary, among many families, the Uchiha family was a family that treated ordinary clan members more friendly, at least much better than the corrupt family of Hyuga. Asshole, what did you say? Uchiha Fugaku did not choose to argue after being framed and accused by the patient. He could control himself, but his teammates could not. The Uchiha ninja standing behind Uchiha Fugaku became furious when he heard this. The three of you got drunk in the tavern, refused to pay, and injured many people in the tavern, including the tavern owner. After our police department arrived, you not only refused to cooperate with the law enforcement, but also insulted us, and even insulted our young clan leader and old clan leader. ! Quote. It's okay to be insulted, but even the young clan leader and old clan leader of the family were insulted. Anyone who is an Uchiha can't help it. So the arrest process was a little bit harder, which led to the current situation. Not bad, you even dared to insult the young clan leader and clan leader of other families. After drinking a few glasses of wine, you even forgot your last name. Tsunade looked at the three patients with a bit of unfriendly eyes. She is not a member of the F4 group, and she does not dislike Uchiha. When encountering such things, she basically handles things impartially, and will not favor the other side just because the top leaders are targeting Uchiha. Seeing Tsunade's face change, the three patients who were carried to the hospital hurriedly complained. Ah, my hand is broken, my hand is broken, it hurts. The Uchiha people maliciously beat the villagers. Enough. Tsunade had a cold face, and did not indulge them at all because of the other party's injury. Immediately carry them in for treatment, and the cost of treatment will be charged to them. Uchiha Fugaku, right, Tsunade-sama. Uchiha Fugaku was relieved that he was not targeted, and when Tsunade called his name, he hurried forward. Tsunade said to Uchiha Fugaku seriously, although the other party has done something out of line, you shouldn't be so harsh. After the treatment of the three of them is over, take them to the police department and deal with them as they should. In addition, you should send someone to the Hokage office building to report this matter. Since you are causing trouble, beating people, resisting arrest, and insulting people, you must be punished. You can't get away with it just because you were injured. After the treatment of several patients is over, the punishment they deserve will not be reduced at all. The police department also needs to send someone to the Hokage office to report. As for whether the third Hokage will punish the police department, this is not something Tsunade needs to worry about. Yes, such a result is very conscientious for the Uchiha people, and there is no favoritism to any party. Uchiha Fugaku accepted it obediently. Okay, let's all go, there's nothing to see. Tsunade cut the Gordian knot and dealt with this matter. If possible, she doesn't want to come forward to deal with these trivial matters. But she knew that if she didn't show up, the situation would get worse and worse, and the Uchiha would be punished by the higher-ups, and the villagers who insulted the young and old clan leaders of the Uchiha would have no chance of getting off easily. Don't think that the Uchiha are soft persimmons. You've gone too far. If others target you, they can find a few excuses to punish you. Not to mention killing you in secret. As long as there is no evidence, who can prove that it was done by the Uchiha? The Uchiha may not care about general insults. After all, the work done by the police department is easy to offend people, and the Uchiha people have long been used to it. But it's wrong for you to insult the young and old clan leaders. This is really asking for death. After dealing with this ridiculous matter, Tsunade left the hospital with Shizuka. As soon as she walked out of the hospital gate, Tsunade began to complain. The voices of dissatisfaction with Uchiha in the village are getting louder and louder, and the Hokage office and the elders group are not dealing with it. If this continues, something will happen sooner or later. Complaints are complaints, but Tsunade can't intervene. Although she has a special status, this is something that can only be handled by the Hokage and the elders group, and she can't cross the line casually. To be precise, the voices of dissatisfaction with some ninja families are getting louder and louder. Jingyi reminded Tsunade. Do you think the F4 group is only targeting Uchiha? No, you are wrong. Almost most of the ninja families are covered in it, and only the Hokage faction families such as Sarutobi, Shimura, and Ino Shikacho can be left out. Does the Hyuga clan also have such problems? Tsunade, who rarely pays attention to these, is a little surprised. It's okay for Uchiha. After all, the police department is an exclusive department of Uchiha. The police department is responsible for maintaining public order, and it is easy to have conflicts with the villagers. If too many people are offended, it will cause a lot of dissatisfaction. But the Hyuga didn't. It has always existed. Jingyi shook his head and said, many villagers think that the Hyuga clan is superior and do not take them seriously, but the Hyuga clan also has its own problems. Too isolated and arrogant. Quote, that shouldn't be the case. The Uchiha clan can still be understood, but why did the Hyuga clan get into such trouble for no reason? Tsunade didn't understand. Could it be? Subconsciously, Tsunade looked up at the Hokage's office building. It might be the work of the Hokage's office. What's more interesting is that ninja families such as Sarutobi and Shimura are becoming more and more popular in the village. Quote. Quote. Don't try to be so mean. Do you really think I don't know you're putting eye drops on me? Tsunade is not stupid. After hearing this, she glared at Jingyi. Have you found a house? Do you need my help? I found it, and we'll move tomorrow. Jingyi laughed and changed the subject. That's good, I'll help you move some things tomorrow. By the way, walk faster, I'm starving. Quote. Quote. No, you're hungry, go eat, why are you following me? You're addicted to eating for free, right? It turns out that Tsunade is indeed addicted to eating for free. Looking at a certain Konoha princess who was wolfing down her food, Jingyi felt that if this Konoha princess went to do a food broadcast, no one would suspect that she was faking her eating. How did you manage to stuff such a big chicken leg in one bite? Wouldn't it get stuck in your throat? Why are you staring at me? Aren't you hungry? With a turn of her mouth, the clean bones were spit out on the table. A big chicken leg went in, and only a bone was left when it came out. This mouth-feeling skill is really great. Your boyfriend will definitely be very happy in the future. Quote. With an inexplicable sigh, Jingyi joined the ranks of people scrambling for food, because if they didn't grab it, it would be gone. God can testify that he made 4 portions of food, but Tsunade almost ate it all by herself. Kid, I suspect you are thinking about something dirty. Tsunade's intuition told her that this good-looking boy in front of her had some problems with his mind. No, absolutely not, I'm praising you. Hey, do you think I believe it? If you don't believe it, forget it, you don't have a boyfriend anyway. Quote. Quote. These words were a bit heartbreaking, and Tsunade wanted to poke Jingyi to death with chopsticks. You're talking about something else, right? After eating 3 portions of food, Tsunade fell on the sofa and made a satisfied sound. Jingyi seriously suspected that this girl didn't eat anything just to wait for a meal and then eat a lot. Fortunately, Kushina bought a lot of things recently, otherwise Tsunade's food expenses would be a lot of money. But this woman can't control her hands, and her pockets are cleaner than her face. Asking her for food expenses is simply wishful thinking. It's good that she doesn't ask you to borrow some gambling money. Speaking of which, I haven't seen the little rich woman for 2 days. What is the little rich woman doing? Speak of the devil, and the devil will appear. Just after cleaning the house, Jingyi saw the rich lady he had just mentioned. Kushina seemed to be in a bad mood today. She looked listless and sad. Jingyi, Sister Tsunade. Kushina looked weak even when she greeted him. What's wrong? Who bullied you? Tell me, I'll beat him up for you. Seeing Kushina like this, Tsunade jumped up from the sofa and hugged her to comfort her. Did this kid, Rope Tree, make you angry again? Don't be afraid, I'll beat him up for you. I guarantee he won't dare to get close to you for 10 days or half a month. Although Rope Tree likes Kushina, a sister, a boy of 7 or 8 years old is at the age where people hate dogs. To put it bluntly, dogs will be kicked when they pass by. After Kushina came to Konoha, Rope Tree often made her cry. Really? Kushina looked up at Tsunade expectantly. Of course, I'm your sister Tsunade. Whoever dares to bully you, I'll help you get back at them. It's Grandma Mito. Quote. Are you kidding me? Tsunade's energy disappeared instantly, and she decisively let go of Kushina's hand, lying back on the sofa like a salted fish, waving her hand with her back to Kushina. You'd better go find someone else. I dare not help you. Your grandma Mito will bully me too, and your sister Tsunade is not capable of helping you vent your anger. If it were someone else, Tsunade could still rush up, but the person who bullied Kushina was Uzumaki Mito. It's better to give up the idea as soon as possible, otherwise even Tsunade can't escape. Sister Tsunade, you don't keep your word. Kushina stared at her back aggrievedly, and Tsunade simply pretended to sleep. I didn't see anything, I didn't hear anything. The funny interaction between the two sisters made Jingyi laugh. Jingyi smiled and rubbed Kushina's head, and asked, Kushina, how did Mito-sama bully you? Is it because you were naughty and got spanked? How is that possible? As soon as this was said, Kushina shook her head vigorously. I am the most obedient, I will not be naughty and make Mito-sama angry, so Mito-sama will not spank me. After saying that, Kushina frowned and sighed. Jingyi, Mito-sama wants me to go to ninja school tomorrow, but I don't want to go to school. That won't work, you must go to ninja school, you must go. Tsunade turned over and sat up, and said to Kushina seriously, Kushina, you have to understand grandma's intentions, you know. At ninja school, you can learn a lot of new knowledge and meet many new friends and classmates. Go to ninja school, learn new knowledge, meet more people, classmates, and even future companions and friends. This will allow Kushina to integrate into Konoha more smoothly. After all, Uzumaki Mito has not been able to hold on for a few years. If Kushina's heart is not thinking about Konoha, it may bring great hidden dangers. But what if the new classmates don't welcome me? Kushina's face fell. Tsunade scratched her head in distress, and she began to recall how she got along with her classmates at the beginning. It seems to be fists. Yes, on the first day of school, she beat the annoying Jiraiya and made him cry. When she returned home, she was scolded by her grandmother. Use fists to get to know new classmates. Kushina must have this ability, but can she integrate smoothly like this? No, Kushina can't be too violent. Tsunade shook her head vigorously and threw out the messy thoughts in her mind. You are very good at talking, it's your turn, and you are Kushina's only friend in the village. Tsunade winked at Shizuka, telling him to stop standing aside and help. Kushina, your starting point is wrong. Shizuka couldn't continue to watch the show. Coughed and corrected Kushina's words. Ah, the little rich woman was stunned for a moment. Is my starting point wrong? Yes. Jingyi snapped his fingers, bent down, and let Kushina look at his eyes. Think about it, your primary task in going to the ninja school is to study, and everything else is secondary. Really, Kushina felt that this was not right, and after thinking about it carefully, she felt that it made some sense. Quote. Tsunade felt that Jingyi was not holding back anything good. What if my classmates don't welcome me, or even want to bully me? Kushina asked weakly. When she first came to Konoha, her activities were limited to the Senju ancestral home, the vegetable market, and Jing's family. She only knew and was familiar with a few people. When she thought about going to a strange school and meeting strange people, she was a little scared. Jingyi grinned, revealing 2 rows of white teeth, and pressed his big hand on Kushina's little head. Remember one sentence, Kushina, sometimes fists can solve many problems. I know it. Tsunade patted her forehead speechlessly. Kushina's big eyes flashed. Is it really okay? Of course, if anyone dares to provoke you deliberately and make fun of you, just beat him up. If anyone dares to give you an ugly nickname, don't hesitate, beat him up hard, beat him to death. If the teacher and the other party's parents come to you, just say that your sister is Tsunade Jime. Just let them go to Tsunade Jime to argue, and there are also those yellow-haired people with bad intentions. Hinata Shizuka. That's enough. Tsunade couldn't listen anymore. How can you educate children like this? When you are in doubt, use fists first. Beat him hard, beat him to death, and then bring out the backer after beating him. What can you do to me? What a mess. Ahem. Tsunade-sama was furious, so Jingyi restrained herself a little and whispered in Kushina's ear, Tsunade-sama used to get to know new classmates this way. I'll hide. Tsunade gave a flying kick, and Jingyi, who was well prepared, ran away directly. Leaving behind the furious Tsunade and the eye-opening Kushina, the little rich woman felt that she understood something. Can all problems be solved with fists? Kushina was almost led astray, and Tsunade took her away angrily. Jingyi stood at the door and winked at Kushina, making a fist gesture, and Kushina nodded with a smile. I hope no naughty kids will take risks tomorrow. The little rich woman looked weak and looked like she was easy to bully, but in fact, she had no less violent factors than Tsunade. The little rich woman who got the advice went to school. If she was teased and nicknamed by her classmates, something interesting would happen. Kushina, don't listen to what Hyuga Shizuka said. Although fists can solve many problems, we girls can't use fists all the time, understand? On the way home, Tsunade persuaded Kushina earnestly. Kushina asked in confusion. Then why does Tsunade use fists to communicate with classmates? Quote. Tsunade wanted to rush back and beat Shizuka up. Look at what you taught. Today is the day of moving. Jingyi got up early in the morning and started packing. He took everything he needed. I have to say that the ceiling scroll is a great invention. This thing can be used directly as a storage device. The only bad thing is that it is too expensive and cannot be reused. Put everything that can be used into the scroll. Arrived at the new house, and then took out all the things and put them one by one. At this point, Jingyi's moving is completely over. Looking for help? No need at all. After moving, Jingyi started to prepare breakfast for himself. At the same time, Kushina, who was uneasy in her heart, was sent to the ninja school with a small school bag on her back. Dear classmates, there is a transfer student in our class today. I hope everyone can get along well. Kushina, say hello to everyone first. The teacher of the 3rd grade of the junior class, Sarutobi Yu, took Kushina into the classroom. Looking at the classroom full of strange children, Kushina was a little nervous. Hello, everyone, my name is Kushina, Uzumaki Kushina, from the Uzumaki clan, nice to meet you all. What family is the Uzumaki clan? I haven't heard of it, but her hair is actually red. Yes, red hair is ugly, just like Peppers, little Peppers, haha. Suddenly, a transfer student came to the class, and the students in the class were very surprised. Several naughty students even started to make fun of Kushina and her hair. Little Honda, you are not allowed to laugh at your classmates. Sarutobi Kyu really wanted to give this kid a big slap. Laugh at the new classmate in front of me. And give a nickname. Do you still have the teacher in your eyes? I'm not wrong. Little Honda looked dissatisfied. Sarutobi Kyu felt helpless. Children of this age group are not easy to educate. Some children have very bad personalities, and teachers don't have a good way to deal with this. If you scold them, they may not care. But you don't think it's necessary to teach them a lesson directly. Jingyi is right. You should talk to these people with your fists. Just after she finished introducing herself, she was laughed at and even nicknamed Little Pepper. Kushina's fists were clenched tightly. Kushina, go down and find an empty seat first. After scolding the noisy students, Sarutobi Yu bowed his head and squeezed out an awkward smile to Kushina. In addition to the students being naughty, he, the teacher, also has a certain responsibility for such a thing, because he didn't teach well. Thank you, teacher. Kushina thanked politely and walked down from the podium. He is a polite and good child. Sarutobi Yu nodded with relief. But the next second, the smile on his face froze. Because Kushina, who was walking by Honda, suddenly jumped up and punched the other person in the face. The sudden punch made everyone stunned. Even Honda, who was beaten to a bloody nose, was stunned. Was I beaten by the transfer student? Little Pepper, you like peppers, right? You like to laugh at people, right? Since you've started fighting, you have to beat him hard, beat him hard, beat him to death. Kushina remembered what Jingyi taught her, so she grabbed Honda's hair and punched him one after another. Wow, it hurts, stop it, don't hit me. After being hit several times in a row, Honda cried in pain, and the classmates around him were stunned. A little yellow-haired boy sitting in the second-to-last row opened his mouth slightly, unable to believe that the transfer student who looked so cute just now turned into an irritable little pepper. Kushina, stop it, don't beat your classmates. Sarutobi Kyu couldn't believe that such a thing would happen in his class. After a while, he was anxious. He hurriedly spoke out to stop her. But Kushina had no intention of stopping. As a last resort, Sarutobi Kyu ran forward and tried to pull Kushina away. However, before Sarutobi Kyu touched Kushina, Kushina turned around and shouted, "My sister is Tsunade." Quote. The outstretched hand froze in midair, and Sarutobi Kyu was dumbfounded. Is he so arrogant? On the first day of school, he was teased by his classmates, and then he beat them up. When the teacher wanted to stop him, he brought out his backer. My sister is Tsunade. I have to say that the words, "My sister is Tsunade," are a bit intimidating. Who among the ninjas of Konoha doesn't know that Tsunade, the princess of Konoha, has a bad temper? Bullying her sister is simply courting death. Stop it. Even if your sister is Tsunade, you can't beat your classmates like this. When Honda's two front teeth were knocked out, Sarutobi Yu pulled Kushina and successfully separated her from the victim. After successfully beating up the classmates who laughed at her, Kushina became more and more angry, staring at those who just laughed at her. You all can't escape, wait for me. Oh my god. Sarutobi Yu felt that his brain was about to explode. Is this kid so irritable? She is really worthy of being Tsunade's sister. Ask the teacher of the next class to send the injured students to the hospital for treatment. Sarutobi Yu ran to the Hokage's office to report the matter in person. What did you say? The third Hokage thought he had heard it wrong. Kushina was teased by her classmates, so she beat them up directly, and threatened you with Tsunade. Is this the Kushina I know? In the memory of the third Hokage, Kushina was a shy, weak-willed little girl who was easily bullied. The result was shocking. Yes, Sarutobi Kiyoshi was in tears. If something like this happened, his year-end bonus would definitely be gone. Hokage, would Kushina do this because she was influenced by Tsunade? The third Hokage. You ask me, who the hell should I ask? Tsunade used Jiraiya as a scapegoat on the first day of school and beat Jiraiya up. On the first day of school, Kushina knocked out her classmates' front teeth. Go to Konoha Hospital in person and tell Tsunade about this and let her handle it herself. It's normal for children to fight, but Kushina's status is special, so she reported it to the Hokage's office. After thinking about it, the third Hokage decided to let Tsunade handle it. Tsunade's most worried thing happened. When Sarutobi Kiyoshi came to Konoha Hospital, Tsunade had just arrived at the hospital. The old man said that he was very angry. I knew it. Hinata Shizuka, look at what you did. The angry Tsunade rushed to the lounge and kicked the door open. Kushina was laughed at by her classmates, and then she beat them up, even knocking out her front teeth. The old man asked me to deal with it. How do you want me to deal with it? There are still a lot of things waiting for me in the medical department. You don't help, but you make trouble for me. Shizuka, who was changing clothes in the lounge, put on his white coat calmly, and then asked back. Kushina was laughed at by her classmates on the first day of school. Is it wrong to fight back directly? You are only allowed to laugh at me, but I am not allowed to beat you, right? There is no such good thing in the world. Jingyi is not bragging. In the whole Konoha school, only Rope Tree can compete with Kushina in terms of backing. Everyone else has to stand aside, even the children of big families. With such a strong backing, what is there to fear? Jingyi is most speechless that Kushina has such a backing, but she is frequently bullied at school. She was ridiculed and bullied by her classmates. She fought back when she couldn't bear it anymore, and was retaliated by the other party's brother. I really don't know who gave her the courage. Making trouble. Tsunade's blood pressure began to soar. He also threatened the teacher, saying that her sister is Tsunade. The teacher dared not touch her at all. That's right, aren't you her sister? Jingyi spread his hands. When everything is fine, she is Tsunade's sister, but when something happens, she is not her sister. Tsunade almost vomited blood. Go to the ninja school right now and take care of this matter. You caused this yourself, so go and take care of it yourself. Tsunade felt like her brain was about to explode. The hospital was fine, but the medical department had a lot of problems because of the reform of the F4 group. Tsunade didn't have much time to take care of other things. No, Kushina is not my sister. Jingyi decisively refused the job. It's not that he didn't want to help Kushina, but if he showed up for this kind of thing, the other party would never let it go easily, even if he represented Tsunade. You can't threaten other people's parents. The son was beaten by Kushina, and the parents came to ask for an explanation, and then beat the parents too. If you don't go, you're still teaching her to use fists. Tsunade wanted to hit someone. If you don't use fists, are you waiting to be bullied? Jingyi looked at Tsunade in confusion. What's your train of thought? You don't really think that doing this will make Kushina easily integrate into the village. You think that children's fights are trivial, but others don't think so. After bullying Kushina at school and being beaten up by the angry Kushina, he directly called his family to help, and he didn't care about his face. Tsunade-sama, Shizuichi-kun, there is a patient outside. A little nurse ran to the door of the lounge. Shizuichi immediately walked outside. I'm coming, I'll take over this patient, no one can compete with me. Go to the ninja school to argue. Impossible, this kind of thing still needs you, Tsunade-sama, to do it yourself. Only if you do it yourself can you be deterrent. If you don't wait for me, I will deal with you sooner or later. Staring at Shizuichi's back fiercely, Tsunade silently threw a pile of documents in her hand on the table, turned around and left the hospital, heading towards the ninja school. Who are the parents of this child? I want to have a good talk with him. What did my son do wrong? He was so heavy-handed. His son was beaten, and Honda's father, old Honda, was very angry. He ran directly to the ninja school, hoping that the teacher would give him an explanation. Don't be angry, this matter is not entirely Kushina's fault. Sarutobi Muyang, who returned to school from the hospital, was overwhelmed. If such a thing happened in his class, the other party's parents would definitely find him first. Kushina apologized to Honda's father quickly. Sarutobi Muyang comforted the other party and asked Kushina to apologize. I won't. Kushina raised her head and turned her head to one side. Jingyi was right. Such childish little brats should be beaten hard with fists. Kushina didn't think she did anything wrong. My aunt, can't you apologize first? Kushina refused to apologize, and Sarutobi Muyang wanted to die. How could such a thing fall on his head? It's over. This excellent teacher. I will definitely not get the award, and the year-end bonus will also be gone. Teacher Muyang, look, this kid has no manners at all. Old Honda was so angry that he was incoherent. Dad Honda, don't be angry first, you. Bang. Sarutobi Muyang was trying to appease the other party, but the door of the office was pushed open and slammed heavily on the wall, scaring everyone in the office. Who is this, so rude? His body shook subconsciously, and Sarutobi Muyang looked at the door with dissatisfaction. When he saw the person at the door clearly, all his dissatisfaction disappeared, and he changed his face and smiled, and walked up quickly to greet. Tsunade-sama, why did you come here in person? It's over, Sister Tsunade came in person. Kushina lowered her head with guilt, not daring to look at Tsunade. My sister was bullied on the first day of school. Can't I come here to ask for an explanation? Tsunade walked into the office expressionlessly. Explanation. Sarutobi Kiyoshi opened his mouth and wanted to say, the problem is that it was Kushina who hit people. Just now you said that my sister is impolite, right? Tsunade walked in front of old Honda and stared at him with a bad look. Who the hell are you? Do you need to tell me whether my sister is polite or not? No, this is a misunderstanding. Old Honda was dumbfounded from the moment Tsunade walked into the office. In Konoha, the third Hokage and Tsunade are the most well-known. Most people know them. After all, one is the current Hokage, and the other is the eldest daughter of the Senju clan, a disciple of the Hokage, and a princess of Konoha who was named by the daimyo. It's hard not to know them. My son actually bullied Tsunade's sister. This kid, I must teach him a lesson when I go back. Tsunade frowned and looked at the sweaty old Honda. Your son got beaten, don't you want to confess? No. Old Honda smiled nervously. This brat is too outrageous. He actually bullied his classmates at school. I will definitely educate him well. Please rest assured, Tsunade-sama, such a thing will never happen again. It's good that it won't happen. I thought I would ask my brother to go to the lower grade classroom to talk to him. It seems that you are very aware. Not bad, very sensible. Standing aside, Sarutobi Kiyoshi looked at the old Honda who kept nodding and bowing, and couldn't help rolling his eyes. The two of them were very angry. Weren't you very aggressive just now? Keep going. Ask your son for an explanation. The real boss is here. Why are you so scared? After dealing with the other parent, Tsunade waved to Kushina and asked her to come to her side. Sister Tsunade. Kushina smiled awkwardly, looking very guilty. I'll deal with you later. Walking out of the teacher's office, Kushina hugged Tsunade's arm and shook it. I'm sorry, Tsunade sister. They laughed at me for having red hair and said I was a hot pepper. I couldn't help it and beat that guy. Okay, Tsunade said with a headache. I knew that you and Jingyi were not good together. That boy has a poisonous mouth. You should listen to him less in the future. Forget it today. Go back and have a good rest. Get up early tomorrow to attend class, and if this happens again in the future, don't fight in class, understand? This is not how you beat people. Beating people in class in front of the teacher and the whole class, or sneak attack, this is very bad, Kushina. You didn't beat him so badly when you were off. Get out of class. Yeah, Kushina nodded obediently and agreed. Then can I go to Jingyi's house? He moved to a new house today. I want to go over and play. Go, as long as you don't feel bored. He can only go home after get off work. Tsunade did not refuse Kushina's request. Just play. We can't continue the class in this situation today. Great, Sister Tsunade, you are the best. Don't come on. I almost died of anger. Jingyi, that fool, said that you listen to everything. You believe everything. It is more effective than what I, a sister, say. He also mocked me. Tsunade sister, nothing is wrong. You are not a sister. I am so angry. This sentence is like a knife stabbing Tsunade's lungs. Tsunade was so angry. Am I as bad as you say? Really? Kushina was very surprised. She couldn't believe that Jingyi would be so angry with Tsunade. Is it fake? That kid is so sorry for you. He sprayed me in the face. Tsunade raised her hand and knocked on Kushina's forehead. Ah, it hurts. Kushina covered her forehead pitifully. Don't pretend to be pitiful. Tsunade was unmoved, because she didn't use any force at all. Wait, where are you going? Buying groceries. Kushina put her hands behind her back. Jingyi needs to go to work alone and has no time to go to the market. Sister Tsunade won't help buy things, so I'm going to the market to buy groceries. Quote. Tsunade was full of black lines. Because it sounded like she was a freeloader. Okay, Tsunade, was a freeloader. She subconsciously touched her pocket and found that there were only a few coins in her pocket, so she stopped thinking about paying for groceries. Her pocket was cleaner than her face, so she should continue to eat for free. Then you should be careful. I'm going to work in the medical department, and there are a lot of things waiting for me to deal with. Kushina has people from the Anbu protecting her, so her safety is definitely not a problem. After Tsunade and Kushina separated, they went directly to the medical department. As for the Konoha hospital, she didn't want to go there for the time being. She was afraid that she couldn't help but beat Jingyi up. This fool kept talking in her heart. Didn't I tell you not to buy groceries? There are still so many things at home, and I will buy them myself. After get off work, Jingyi saw several large bags on the floor when she got home. Tsunade-san went to school and brought me back, so I went to the market. Kushina raised her fist proudly. Today, that guy laughed at me and said I was a hot pepper, so I knocked out one of his front teeth. I'm awesome, right? Ha ha ha, awesome. Jingyi burst out laughing and gave Kushina a thumbs up. You did a great job. Just hit him directly. Don't worry about any serious consequences. You have to understand that in Konoha, it's a good thing for you, Kushina, not to bully others. How can others bully you? By the way, Tsunade didn't scold you. No, but Tsunade-san told me not to listen to you. Don't listen. Ahem, Kushina, what do you want to eat? How about noodles tonight? Jingyi was about to complain a few words, but noticed someone coming, so he changed the subject. Isn't dinner ready yet? Tsunade, feeling dizzy and swollen, felt like she was half dead, and fell on the sofa without any image when she walked into the house. Kushina and I were planning on having ramen. Is teaching students so tiring? Give me 3 servings, I want a good meal. Tsunade was still weak. Kushina said worriedly. Sister Tsunade, are you okay? Don't mention it. Tsunade suppressed her anger. I have never seen such a stupid student. I taught him all day and he can't learn anything. Ah, I am so angry. Tsunade has never been a patient person. On the contrary, she is impatient and even irritable. Let her teach students patiently. If the process goes smoothly, it's fine. If it doesn't go smoothly, the situation will shift in another direction. Poor Tsunade. After 3 seconds of silence for Tsunade, Jingyi picked up the bag on the ground and walked into the kitchen. Kushina thought about it and followed Jingyi from the heart. She felt that she should let Tsunade calm down. It was a bit dangerous to get close to her at this time. Among the future 3 ninjas, the one who teaches his disciples with the most patience is Jiraiya. It is hard to imagine that Jiraiya, who is usually unreliable and can't do anything, can become a good teacher. Orochimaru also has a high talent for education, but his teaching method is as scary as his personality. But that was after Noace died. Before Noace died, Orochimaru had not completely walked into the darkness. In the Jing family, 3 people sat together and ate noodles, eating enthusiastically. In the Senju ancestral house, Uzumaki Mito looked at the empty table and couldn't help sighing. Grandma, what's wrong with you? Noace, who was eating rice in big mouthfuls, paused and looked at his grandmother who didn't move his chopsticks in confusion. Noace, don't you feel a little lonely when eating? Even though he is old, Uzumaki Mito still feels that his grandchildren are around him. But recently Tsunade often doesn't go home for dinner, and Kushina is the same. Is there? Shungshu picked up a chicken leg and showed a clear and silly look. No, if my sister is not here, no one will snatch the delicious food from me. Uzumaki Mito, your sister said you are stupid and beat you up often for a reason. If Uzumaki Mito was a few years younger, she would definitely catch this grandson and beat him up first. Kushina didn't come back for dinner either. She said that the food made by Hinata Shizuka is delicious. I must try it another day. Shungshu kept talking. Uzumaki Mito felt even more depressed after hearing this. Old lady, I feel that it is very lonely without my granddaughter. Now my grandson wants to run away too. It seems that I have to talk to Tsunade. It was night. Tsunade, who was forced to work overtime, dragged her tired body back home. What surprised her was that her grandmother Uzumaki Mito had not rested yet. Grandma, can't you sleep? Uzumaki Mito glanced at her granddaughter. The whole family is left with this silly boy, Nawaki, to accompany me. How can I sleep? Ah, is it because I came back too late? Grandma, I will definitely come back early tomorrow to accompany you. No, just let Jingyi come over tomorrow. Uzumaki Mito's tone became a little stiff. You and Kushina like to eat for free. Well, the old lady will directly cut off your way to eat for free, and see if you will come back. When Jingyi is not at home, Kushina will definitely stay at home obediently. As for Tsunade, she lost all her previous salary, and her pockets are empty. If she doesn't go home for dinner, she will be hungry. Uzumaki Mito believes that her granddaughter will come back for dinner obediently. Looking at the back of her grandmother leaving, Tsunade asked in confusion, did I say something wrong? The 2 of them were very busy. Mito-sama wants to see me. Yes, she said she would go with me after get off work. I don't know what grandma wants to do. It might be because of Kushina. Be careful when you go there. After instructing Jingyi to wait for her after get off work, Tsunade left in a hurry. There are still too many things waiting for her to deal with in the medical department. Strange, Jingyi couldn't figure it out. If there was something, he could have gone there now instead of waiting to go to the Senju ancestral house with Tsunade after get off work. This is likely to cause some unnecessary misunderstandings. It can be predicted that as long as he goes to the Senju ancestral house in person and meets Uzumaki Mito, the Hokage's office will definitely be restless. Because Uzumaki Mito's identity is too special, every move of his affects the nerves of the 3rd Hokage and others. Forget it, why think so much? It was Uzumaki Mito who wanted to see him, not him who took the initiative to ask for a meeting, so why worry about these things? It's just adding trouble to yourself. In the lounge, Jingyi assembled various materials, and a brand new puppet was born in his hands. Maybe it was because it was the first time to make it, the appearance of the puppet was a bit ugly. It's so ugly. Jingyi knew that he succeeded in making a puppet for the first time, but he was also disappointed. He got a defective product that he couldn't stand. Even if the puppet is used as a consumable, the puppet should not be made too abstract, not like a human, and not like an animal. After studying it for a while, Jingyi, who couldn't stand it, decisively dismantled the puppet. After all, it was the cheapest material, and he didn't feel bad if it was damaged. It's better to damage a little material than to make a bunch of ugly things. After disassembling the puppet, Jingyi began to summarize himself. After a moment, Jingyi realized that he had made a mistake. There are very few puppeteers in Konoha, just like the giant pandas in the previous life. There are also very few related books and scrolls. Basically, the village got them from the Sand Village through various means. The puppets made by the Sand Village are strange in shape. Because the puppets need to have various functions and means of attack, the puppets made are not beautiful. Jingyi is not a puppeteer, and there is no need to make puppets in the style of the Sand Village. With the Reincarnation Eye, he doesn't even need to control the puppets, give the puppets life, and directly give orders. So the puppets don't need to have so many functions, nor do they need to add all kinds of messy parts. With an idea in mind, Jingyi continued to assemble. Soon, a humanoid puppet no taller than 50 centimeters stood on the table. The materials in hand are limited, and the final product is not satisfactory. Find an opportunity to buy more parts and materials. And there is no need to pursue human-shaped puppets. You can also use some powerful animal corpses to make puppets. It seems that this idea is good. There are too few puppeteers in Konoha, and the materials are relatively expensive. In addition to the influence of the environment, anyone in Konoha who uses the corpses of ninjas to make puppets will definitely be labeled as dark. Jingyi is not interested in using the corpses of ninjas to make puppets. Compared with the corpses of ninjas, the powerful animals in the ninja world are undoubtedly the best choice, and they are also very maneuverable and can be used as mounts. Having made up his mind, Jingyi decided to collect some animal corpses. After lunch at noon, Jingyi came to the Hokage office building and issued a task to collect animal corpses. The task reward is linked to the strength of the animal. Because of the influence of chakra, there are many powerful creatures in the ninja world. For example, wild boars the size of a house, giant snakes like trains, and birds with wings spread out like a fighter. Such creatures are not uncommon in the ninja world, and there are even a lot of them. Konoha would issue a few related tasks every year, asking the village's ninjas to clean up these creatures. In addition to being strong and huge, these creatures also have another characteristic, that is, their meat is not tasty. After accepting the task of cleaning up, they would only choose to kill them, take the part of the body that proves that the task has been completed, and discard the rest. The bodies of these creatures are not worth much except for a little research value. After issuing the task, Jingyi returned to the hospital to work. Hokage, this is the task commission sorted out by the task department today. The task department will sort out the daily task commissions and send them to the Hokage's office for screening by the third Hokage. For important tasks, the third Hokage will personally send a suitable ninja team to perform, and unimportant tasks will be thrown to. The mission department is freely accepted by the ninjas in the village. For ninjas, the income from missions and commissions can support many ninjas. Even in Konoha, once a large number of external missions and commissions are lost, more than half of the ninjas in the village will face unemployment and hunger. Because ninjas do not engage in production, and the village does not have so many positions to support so many ninjas. Too many failed missions and commissions will affect the credibility. If the number of external missions and commissions decreases, it will be a disaster for those ninjas who rely on executing missions and commissions to survive. This is why, even during the war, even if the frontline war is tight, the village will draw a group of ninjas to execute missions and commissions. Whether it is a small ninja village or the 5 major ninja villages, they cannot lose the relevant credibility or put down the mission commission. The fundamental reason why the Sand Village has become poorer and poorer since the Second Ninja World War is that the daimyo is angry and thinks that his investment has gone down the drain and that the Sand Village is not strong enough, so he reduced his investment in the Sand Village. He also handed over a large number of tasks and commissions from the Wind Country to Konoha. This directly led to the Sand Ninja Village falling into a situation of tightening its belt. Therefore, the third Hokage paid special attention to the commissions and tasks of the task department, and he would personally sort them out every day, and throw the tasks with low rewards and simple tasks to the task department. For tasks that need to be taken seriously, he would select the appropriate team to perform. As usual, the third Hokage quickly screened various tasks, but when he selected one of the tasks, his hand holding the document paused. Collect a large number of powerful biological corpses. The task reward is linked to the animal corpses, and this task is valid for a long time. The third Hokage read out the task content while holding a pipe, and then stared at the person who issued the task and fell into deep thought. Hyuga Shizuka. Why did this kid issue such a task? Collecting the corpses of powerful creatures for a long time, is it for research? Shizuka applied to study in the medical department, and the reason for becoming a medical ninja was stated in the report, which was to treat blood disease. It is not surprising to do research for the purpose of curing diseases. Many ninjas even conduct experiments to study ninjutsu and improve their strength. Orochimaru often does this. Long-term missions are definitely a blessing for the village and its ninjas, and they are also missions to collect the corpses of powerful creatures. After thinking for a while, the third Hokage said to the people in the mission department, "Go to the medical department to find Tsunade and let him look at this document. By the way, find Hinata Shizuka to confirm the corresponding rewards for the corpses of various creatures." The ninjas in the mission department didn't think much about why they went to Tsunade first instead of asking Jingyi directly and confirming it. "Yes, Hokage." The people in the mission department left the Hokage's office and rushed to the medical department as quickly as possible. As for why they went to Tsunade first instead of going directly to Jingyi to ask and confirm it, the ninjas in the mission department didn't think much about it. Hokage gave the order, and it was done. Why think so much? If you want to become a qualified medical ninja, a large amount of reserve knowledge and accurate chakra mastery are basic conditions. I still say that you need to read more books, learn more, and train harder. Don't enter the medical department and think that you can become the second Hyuga Shizuka. There are only a few people like him in the entire ninja world. Tsunade-sama, there are ninjas from the mission department looking for you. Tsunade was teaching a group of newcomers. After being reminded by her colleagues, she walked out of the classroom and rubbed her aching temples. She felt that she would lose a lot of brain cells every day. Teaching students is really too difficult. Compared to the previous model of personally leading learning and hand-in-hand teaching, this kind of open assembly line education is simply a torture. Tsunade-sama. The ninjas from the mission department saluted respectfully. Tsunade waved her hands, a little impatient. "Okay, stop it, tell me what you want from me." Hokage said that you should take a look at this document, and then consult with Hyuga Shizuka about the standard of mission rewards. After it is determined, I will go back to report to the Hokage. The ninja of the mission department handed over a document. What a mess. Shizuka went to issue a mission. Tsunade took the document and opened it to read it. Really. However, the issuance of this mission is really not rigorous, and even the basic standard reward is not set. A long-term mission. For such a mission, the level will probably be determined by the collected biological corpses, and Shizuka requires powerful biological corpses. In other words, the mission rating will not be very low. A high mission rating means that the reward will be higher than that of ordinary missions. In addition, it is a long-term mission, which will cause Shizuka to spend a lot of money on this mission. Jingyi has a small savings, but not much. Tsunade will not doubt that he can't pay, because medical ninjas are really profitable. As long as Jingyi doesn't have any hobbies that cost money, there is absolutely no problem paying the remuneration with his income. Come with me. After closing the file, Tsunade took the ninjas from the mission department to the hospital next door. It happened that Jingyi just walked out of the ward. Tsunade motioned him to the lounge to talk. Entering the lounge, Tsunade unceremoniously locked the ninjas from the mission department outside the door and asked seriously, "Do you want to do experiments and research?" No. Jingyi was still wondering, why so serious? I just issued a task. Even if it is a long-term task, my income must be enough to pay the remuneration. Then why do you post tasks to collect powerful creature corpses? To make puppets, you can't use ninja corpses to make puppets, right? I'm not interested in ninja corpses. Jingyi doesn't think it's a big deal to use animal corpses to make puppets, but if it's a human, he can't accept it. He doesn't want to make himself into a person who likes to mess with corpses. Okay, as long as you are interested, I will help you determine the task rating directly, so that the old man won't take advantage of you. Tsunade was a little worried before she came. She was afraid that Jingyi would become the second Orochimaru. Although the current Orochimaru is not the blackened snake uncle in the future, it has been a long time since Orochimaru liked to mess with corpses, and all his income and rewards have been invested in this. As long as Jingyi doesn't want to study corpses and do some messy experiments, that's enough. Is it strange to need corpses to make puppets? Not using ninja corpses is already a bottom line. Go back and tell the old man that I have taken over this mission, and there is no need to go through the Hokage's office. Opening the door, Tsunade directly signaled the ninjas in the mission department that you can leave, and the Hokage office building does not need to worry about this mission. The ninjas in the mission department who were still waiting to go back and report were stunned. Tsunade-sama, do you think I am not qualified? No, I don't mean that, it's just that this is a bit against the rules. Then I don't care, you just go back and tell the old man the truth, you don't need to worry about the rest. Yes, the ninja from the mission department left with a bitter face. Jingyi didn't expect Tsunade to take this task. Don't tell me you want to carry out this mission. Tsunade is very poor, there is no doubt about that, but her income is definitely high. She is poor just because she can't control her money and loses all her income. If Tsunade really goes to carry out this mission, it will definitely be a waste of money. How is it possible? Do you think I am a fool? Tsunade glared at Jingyi unhappily. Then why did you take on the mission? Jingyi really didn't understand Tsunade's actions. It's not cost-effective for me to carry out the mission myself, but I can take a commission. Quote. Good fellow. This is a case of fleecing the third Hokage. Under Jingyi's stunned gaze, Tsunade felt a little embarrassed. I'm not that rich lately, so I want to make some extra money. Don't worry, I promise to find you the most suitable person, who is the best at doing these things. Quote. Tsunade is very poor, with only a few coins left in her pocket. She likes to eat at Jing's house, not only because they have a good relationship and Jing's cooking is delicious, but also because she is poor. Eating is just a small problem, at worst she can go home to eat. The biggest problem is that she has no money and wants to spend money. Every day when she passes by the casino, Tsunade feels uncomfortable all over. So she is eager to make some extra money, and it is best if the money comes quickly, so the opportunity comes to her. As for whether the third Hokage will have any ideas, Tsunade doesn't care much. It's just a task, and Tsunade still has this privilege. Okay, you can arrange it yourself, and I will pay you when the materials are delivered. If Tsunade wants to make a fortune, let her do it. Anyway, Jing will not pay first, especially not Tsunade. This woman will bite her thigh when she has money in her pocket. She will never give up until she loses everything. No problem, just prepare the money. Quote. After making a promise to Jingyi, Tsunade left the hospital in a hurry and went directly to Orochimaru's laboratory. Orochimaru, I have something to ask you. It's a good thing. Is this the good thing you said? Orochimaru took a look at the broken door that was kicked open and the scrapped equipment on the test bench. Because of Tsunade's kick, he lost at least tens of thousands of silver. Tsunade is poor, and Orochimaru is not rich either. One likes gambling, and the other likes to do research. The former is a deep pit, and there is no return. The latter can make a profit, and even bring huge profits, but the premise is that a huge amount of money needs to be invested. 500,000, this task is yours. Tsunade took out the task scroll and threw it to Orochimaru, and asked for a lion's money. The money was so high that it was worth more than the original. 500,000 ryo. Orochimaru didn't know where Tsunade got such confidence to ask for such a commission. So he took the scroll and opened it to read it. Hinata Shizuka, the disciple you brought. I remember he suffers from blood-stained degeneration. Orochimaru has a good memory and thought of Shizuka when he saw the signature. What disciple? I didn't take him in. I just took him along when I had time. As a result, this kid has a great talent, far beyond my expectations. Speaking of Shizuka, Tsunade couldn't help but feel a little proud. Although there is no clear master-disciple relationship, Shizuka is still someone brought up by Tsunade-sama. He could barely be considered her disciple, and he was someone she recognized, so he was worth showing off. He needs a lot of animal corpses for experiments. When Orochimaru saw the content of the task, he thought he had found a confidant. As a result, Tsunade shook her head and said, "No, this kid has been fascinated by puppets recently. He said that he was a weak medical ninja and suffered from blood disease, so he needed to make some puppets to protect himself. The corpses of these animals are all materials for making puppets. Compared with the corpses of ninjas and those expensive parts, animal corpses are more suitable." Puppets. This was a bit beyond Orochimaru's expectations. "What level do you need?" Orochimaru put the scroll away and put it in his arms. Tsunade was right. He, Orochimaru, was one of the more suitable candidates for this task. It was quick and easy, and he could make a lot of money. Even if he gave Tsunade a lot of commission, he could still make a lot. It was a very cost-effective deal. It was much easier than running out to perform high-level tasks. In the dense forest of the Land of Fire, there are many strange and strong creatures. Tsunade said, "The stronger the better, and the species should not be too single, and don't bring a bunch of messy snakes." "Okay," Orochimaru agreed, and then raised 2 fingers to Tsunade. 200,000, Tsunade said unhappily. "Orochimaru, don't go too far, is there anyone who bargains like you? Then I will go to Sarutobi teacher and take the task directly from the Hokage's office." 500,000, impossible, at most I will give you 200,000 to let you have a taste of it. If you don't like it, I will go directly to the Hokage's office and bypass you. You. Tsunade was so angry that she wanted to hit someone. "Okay, 200,000 taels, give it to me right away." 200,000 taels, buying a long-term cooperation task, is a good deal for Orochimaru. He didn't know how much money Jingyi had, but the salary Jingyi earned from working hard in Konoha Hospital was enough to cover the salary of this task, provided that Orochimaru could take it easy. If he worked too hard, Jingyi's income would definitely not be enough. Orochimaru understood the principle of a steady stream of income. It didn't matter if he owed money first, he could just pay it back slowly, as long as the person who owed money was not Tsunade. Making money was secondary, and Orochimaru wanted to get to know Jingyi. Maybe they could become like-minded people. As long as Jingyi wanted to treat his blood disease, he would inevitably embark on the path of doing experiments and research, and then his chance would come. A good experimental subject is not easy to find. The blood disease of the Hyuga clan must be very interesting. It was time to get off work, and the patients to be received had been arranged. Jingyi and Tsunade left the hospital together. Compared with the oppression of the Hyuga clan and the liveliness of the Uchiha clan, the Senju ancestral home is very deserted and depressed. In order to prevent the civilian clan members from gathering together, the ruthless Senju Tobirama directly dispersed all the civilian clan members and scattered them to various areas of the village. The Senju ancestral home area has also become one of the heavily guarded areas of Konoha, which directly cut off the idea of some people wanting to revive. If the scattered clan members want to restore the glory of the Senju clan, they must be led by the ancestral home. Now, the two sides are completely isolated, and the complete demise of the diehards has put a complete end to the civilianization of the Senju clan. "It's very quiet, isn't it?" Seeing Jingyi looking around curiously, Tsunade sighed. In order to prevent the Hokage from becoming the exclusive right of the family, the second grandfather was forced to break up the family and make it civilian, leaving only the ancestral house and abandoning the Senju surname. Now there is no one living around, only a few people from the main line are left. The second generation is a man of courage. Guan Jingyi also felt that Senju Tobirama was too harsh on his own people, but he had to admit that Senju Tobirama was a man of courage. In the entire Konoha, he was the only one who could do this. Second grandfather also had his own difficulties. Grandma said that if he didn't do this, the succession of the Hokage would lose fairness, and the village would be dominated by the Senju family, which would go against grandfather's will. When the family became civilians, it was opposed by too many people, but second grandfather still did it. When Tsunade was a child, she didn't understand these things. She only knew that the second grandfather who looked old-fashioned and serious actually doted on her and loved her very much. He always let her make trouble, even if he was very impatient. At that time, Tsunade also felt that the second grandfather was a bit too much. When she grew up, she found that Senju Tobarama was right. The Senju clan has reached its peak. If it doesn't change as soon as possible, the entire Konoha ninja village will become an exclusive village of the Senju clan. All civilians and ninja families will become affiliated families of the Senju clan. It may even cause some terrible disasters. The Senju clan, which was at its peak, naturally hoped that the village would become a one-man show of the clan, and all the poor and ninja clans would become subordinates of the Senju clan. Civilians are fine, but can those ninja clans agree? We all work together to build a ninja village and an equal home, but you, the Senju clan, want us to be servants. Some small clans may not be able to resist, but large-scale clans such as Hyuga, Uchiha, Sarutobi, Shimura, and Ino Shikacho are definitely unwilling. So Senju Tobarama faced a difficult choice. Either split up the clan and wipe out the peak Senju clan with special methods, or let the Senju clan continue to grow, and eventually force all other ninja clans to unite and resist. In the end, Senju Tobarama chose to civilianize the clan. Given the situation at the time, it would have been better if the second Hokage was from another family, as he could suppress the arrogance of the Senju clan. However, the first and second Hokage were both from the Senju clan. It was inevitable that the ambition of the Senju clan began to expand. When Hashirama Senju and Tobarama Senju were around, they could suppress the clan members. Once they were gone, there would definitely be chaos. It was even a question whether Sarutobi Hiruzen could become the third Hokage. "Grandma, I'm back." As soon as they entered the door of the house, Tsunade called out first, and Shizuka followed Tsunade into the yard. The eyes of the Anbu ninjas who were responsible for protecting the Senju ancestral house were wide open. Is this Hyuga Shizuka? Why did he come to the Senju ancestral house? Go and report to the Hokage-sama. Even if he could be considered half of his own, Shizuka was still a member of the Hyuga clan. His coming to the Senju ancestral house would definitely attract the attention of the Hokage's office. "I'm back." Uzumaki Mito, who was sitting in the yard, responded with a smile, and then began to look at Shizuichi who was standing next to Tsunade. "Mito-sama, I'm Hyuga Shizuichi, and I'm glad to meet you." Shizuichi still admired Uzumaki Mito. This is an old man worthy of respect. You look good, no wonder Tsunade and Kushina are willing to get close to you. Uzumaki Mito smiled and joked. The old lady was very happy. Tsunade, who was about to return to her room, stumbled and turned back to protest in dissatisfaction. "Grandma, what nonsense are you talking about?" Quote. This is a bit difficult to respond. Jingyi could only wink at Tsunade, asking her to come to the rescue quickly and not to think about changing clothes. This old lady, I can't handle it. In order to prevent Grandma from saying something scary again, Tsunade had to run back to the rescue. "Grandma, I brought the person back. If you have anything to do with him, just say it directly. After all, he is a member of the Hyuga clan. He has been here for a long time, and the Hokage office building must be restless. If you didn't run to other people's houses every day, would I, an old woman, be like this?" Uzumaki Mito didn't care what the Hokage office building would think. Others might not be able to hold their ground, but the third Hokage was different. Even if he was anxious to death, he would wait patiently. "Miko is not feeling well today. Tsunade, please prepare something to entertain the guests." "Me? Are you sure you are not kidding? I can't even eat the food I cooked myself." Tsunade's eyes widened and she pointed at herself. "Do you want me, an old woman, to cook for you?" Uzumaki Mito angrily slammed the ground with her cane twice, and said dissatisfiedly, "Naoki and Kushina will be out of school soon, so prepare dinner when they come back." "You might as well kill me. I should have known not to go home earlier. Wait, my cooking is not good, I can't eat it, isn't there a ready-made helper here?" Tsunade looked back at Jingyi, then grabbed Jingyi's hand and walked towards the kitchen. "No, you want me to help? Who would run to cook when a guest came to the door?" "Yes, it's you." Tsunade grabbed Jingyi's hand and dragged him to the kitchen without saying anything. "This is not appropriate." "It's appropriate, how can it not be appropriate?" Tsunade, said it's appropriate, then there's no problem. Quote. Why do I feel like I've been drafted? Could it be that Uzumaki Mito wants to see me just to ask me to help cook a meal? That shouldn't be the case. Jingyi was really confused about what this old man was thinking, but the other party didn't say what he wanted to see him for. So Jingyi came to the kitchen in a daze, looking at the materials on the ground. It seems it's well prepared, just waiting for help. The kitchen began to get busy. Tsunade found a chance to slip away. Grandma, the person has been brought back, you should tell me why. Old woman, can I still harm a child? Uzumaki Mito sat on the recliner, saying that he didn't understand what you were talking about. Grandma, Tsunade was anxious, your identity is sensitive. The slightest movement can affect the nerves of the Hokage's office. Although Jingyi has been recognized by us, he is a member of the Hyuga clan after all. If you let him come to the house, the old man will definitely think too much. Monkey won't. Uzumaki Mito smiled confidently. The third-generation Hokage was a qualified Hokage when he was young. He had strength, skills, patience, and tolerance. Don't worry, the old woman has no other ideas, just want to make the house more lively. After all, people are old, and they are afraid that the house will be deserted. Monkey won't target this child because of this little thing. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. That's it, just to make the house more lively. Tsunade was stunned. The old man might not think too much, but what about others? Tsunade knew very well that the F4 group was a group of weirdos. Shimura Danzo, who is full of ambition, and Udane Kaharu, who is narrow-minded, like to take part in everything. Even if the third Hokage can sit still, these people will get nervous. Focusing on Shizuka will invisibly cause Shizuka some trouble. Tsunade. Uzumaki Mito took her granddaughter's hand and sighed. Some things cannot be avoided since he appeared beside you, not to mention that he and Kushina are close, and those people's eyes will fall on him sooner or later, it's just a matter of time. Old woman, I'm still alive and can stabilize the situation. Do you understand? It's better to be targeted early than later. Now that she is targeted, she has Uzumaki Mito, so she won't be involved in any big trouble. Grandma, aren't you worried? After all, he is a member of the Hyuga clan. Tsunade gestured and finally chose. She didn't know what to say if she chose to give up, but what Uzumaki Mito said made sense. Since it couldn't be avoided, she should do it in advance. Now that Uzumaki Mito was here, she could stabilize the Hokage's office. If this happened after she left, it would be really troublesome. Uzumaki Mito believed that she could still hold on for a few years. These few years were considered Jingyi's rapid growth period. If Jingyi still needed someone to protect her after she left, it could only be said that she and Tsunade had chosen the wrong person. Hyuga Tenin. A hint of disdain flashed in Uzumaki Mito's turbid eyes. Just relying on him, he wouldn't dare, and would even take the initiative to leave it alone, because the Hyuga clan is just like this. The dignified head of the Hyuga clan was devalued by Uzumaki Mito. Grandma, we're back. Nawaki and Kushina ran back with their small school bags, and Tsunade and Uzumaki Mito stopped talking about this. You're back, let Grandma see you. Uzumaki Mito raised her hand happily, and Nawaki subconsciously wanted to throw herself into Grandma's arms, but before she got close, her ears were grabbed. Ouch, it hurts, sister, what are you doing? Go away. Tsunade grabbed Nawaki's ears and scolded angrily. You are so old, and you still try to get into Grandma's arms, are you ashamed? Nawaki was caught, and Kushina behind her successfully threw herself into Uzumaki Mito's arms. Are you happy at school today? Did anyone bully you? Uzumaki Mito asked happily while holding Kushina. Kushina hummed and raised her head. No, Grandma Mito, I'm very strong. If anyone dares to bully me, I'll beat him up. Hinata Shizuka has done a lot of harm to people. Tsunade covered her face helplessly as she watched Kushina go on the road of violence and never return. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.